your water. Oh, there we go. All right. Coffee.
This thing is like,
yeah, it's funny looking right
Yeah.
now. But yeah, chocolate. All right, these are for you, by the way. You can take them when
Thank
you leave.
you.
Got you four pins and 4 stickers.
I love
These
it.
seats are cool, but man, with my belt, it always sounds like I'm like farting because it rubs.
I just watched Freaks and Geeks because they put it back on Hulu.
Yeah.
And she, the episode where the girl, like, she farts, but she blames it on the chair. and then Bill's all like, she farted in front of me, but it was the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, I haven't seen Freaks and Geeks in a long time.
That's so good.
Maybe 5, 6. I don't know. It's been a lot of years. I saw that, and then Undeclared was kind of like the spinoff, right?
Yeah, the college one. I never watched it.
I think Freaks and Geeks was better. Undeclared was fun and good, but Freaks and Geeks I thought was
The magic.
so good. It only had what, 2 seasons?
One.
How is that possible?
I don't know. And then I think that 70s show came out, and it's like very clearly a lot of the same things are in that show, you know?
Yeah, but the multicam setup with the laugh track, it's like a completely different thing.
Totally.
Like the sitcom, you know?
Yep, very true.
Man, but all those people went on to do such cool things.
They did.
Like, wasn't Judd Apatow attached to it? He created
He
or
created
directed it?
I think so, yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a show. Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah,
then
all-star
Jason
cast.
Segel,
Yeah.
Martin Starr. That's funny.
Yeah.
James Franco.
Yep.
Did we start? I guess we started.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Hello, TV world.
Shaun,
Ben
what's your last name?
Burk, B-U-R-K. No E.
Burke. You have a unique Shaun spelling too. I've
Yep.
seen 3 different ones. Yours is the more rare one.
Yeah. I've met, I think, 2 people in my life that spell it the same way.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've not met. You might be 1 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
The most common I see is the SEAN, which I
Seen.
don't like that because
Yeah.
I can't get seen out of my head. Like when I was a kid and I read that. When I was a kid, I made a lot of mistakes when I would read things. I would like make up the words in my head, and then to like undo that, it's a problem. You'd be like, oh, "This is seen." So when someone would say their name is Shaun, I'm like, "Okay, Shaun," and then I'd read it and be like, "Wait, seen? What?"
It's like learning an instrument wrong. It's like
Not using your pinky on guitar.
yeah, or not using a hi-hat as a metronome when you're playing drums. Very bad mistake. For a
Yeah,
drummer.
technique. No, it's very interesting. The reason why there's techniques for something like an instrument or even painting or carpentry or anything, there's the same thing with learning math, English, sciences, you know. So when you like learn them wrong and no one's there to tell you otherwise, it becomes really hard, especially at a young age. And then you hit high school and you're like, oh, wait, what? That's not how you do this?
Right.
Oh no, and it's bad. And the one thing I did learn really well at a young age was how to like do quick multiplications and division. And so like when I got to high school, I always was pretty decent with that, but with words, oh my goodness, like
What was like the issue with the words?
I don't know. I always had an issue with words and like a form of dyslexia, you know, and yeah, it's just hard. Words are backwards and pronouncing them just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, it's challenging.
Interesting.
But anyway, well, let's talk about you.
Okay. This coffee's really good, by the way.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
fantastic.
you. Yeah, counterculture. Well, now that we have the single origin counterculture, we're going to try some single origin.
Yeah.
100% cocoa. I really got into cocoa the last couple months. My friends have been enjoying it because I share it with them all the time. But this stuff was the first time I found 100%. I've been looking at every store, Whole Foods, Standard Market, Joel Osco, you name it, and Pete's, all those places. I can't find 100%. And then I found it, and this one's a single origin from Tanzania, and it reminds me of coffee. The way they describe everything reminds me of how they do coffee.
And they
so.
pair perfectly together.
Oh my God. So you put it on your tongue, maybe swish it around your gums, let it melt a little bit, then you put the coffee through it. Like drink the coffee and let it go right through it. It's like a subtle, I call it the smart way to get like a speedball. It's, you know, it's
You should
just.
have another job. You could be doing that. You could be selling chocolate and coffee.
It's expensive though. It's
Oh,
unfair
yeah.
how expensive. Like
For
this
the
is
good stuff.
$5 for this tiny little bar, when you can buy a larger Hershey's bar for like 89 cents. You know, and it's so small, but it's great with that coffee.
And that's, responsibly farmed, I'm sure,
Oh, yeah.
single origin, like all that stuff, versus a giant manufacturing plant.
There's nothing added to it. There's no sugar, which is the best part.
Yeah.
So you get these sweet notes from this coffee. Mm-hmm. I know we're just talking on mic.
I know we're like chewing on the mic.
Perks of having no sponsors or investors.
Right.
You can kind of just do whatever,
Do whatever
you want.
Yeah, I love it.
And the coffee, the overtones and the sweetness of the coffee. Like this one's got like strawberry plum. When it hits that chocolate, it brings out the notes. So these have sweet notes too, but it has that harsh bitter taste at the beginning of it.
Right.
So once it goes down your mouth with that coffee, it
Amplifies.
changes. It
Totally.
turns into a whole another thing, you know?
It's like wine.
Yeah.
Wine and food,
Exactly.
Pairing, yeah.
Yeah, pairing stuff. It's I hate that it gets associated with being like snobby or holier than thou, but
Sure.
there's a reason why people who have nothing to do and too much money start experimenting with stuff like this because it is really delicious and it's not bad for you. There's no sugar in this, barely, I don't think one calorie in coffee, maybe none.
Right.
And this is just all saturated fat. There's no sodium. The carbs are just fiber, no sugar, some protein, no salt. Like that's it. It's pretty
like it.
straightforward.
I gotta bring you some from Nashville. A company that I used to sell there makes one of the only still 100% stone ground chocolates, like maybe in the country. And the owner of the company bought the machine from Germany, but I think it's a Spanish machine.
You're good. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, you're good.
I feel like this might be better.
And when he got it, he didn't know how to put it together, and he figured it out himself, and he put the entire machine together with one piece missing, but it worked.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you hate when that happens? You put together this advanced dresser from IKEA, and there's just like a bolt on the ground. You're like, oh no, what's
And
that for?
you're so mad at the bolt. Why are you so mad at the bolt? That's not the bolt's fault.
Oh, I hate IKEA.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
I love it, but I hate it.
Yeah.
I like that it's there.
I'm Swedish, so
You have to love it.
I like it for some reason because of that. I don't really know why, but maybe it's embedded in me.
Do you know how Swedish you are?
I would say that I'm probably like 60%, I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
Good chunk.
I would love to do one of those
Do it.
ancestry tree
23
guys.
and Me. Yeah.
You know what it is? You know
Yeah,
the
I
stuff?
did one. Yeah, I did it in
Okay.
November. It was very interesting.
Send me the stuff.
I will.
I would love to do it.
I did the extra one, the health one, and I found out some cool stuff. And it was just nice to know, like, I have a less chance of certain things and more of a chance of other things.
I didn't know. Man, you could find all that out.
Yeah, they give you, I mean, it's percentages, and they give you the different variants from your mom and dad. Mm-hmm. So it's not a tried and true, like, you're not going to get dementia. It just says both your mom and dad, what you got from them, they don't have that in their genes, but it is definitely, it can still happen. It's just significantly less likely.
Got it.
You know, if they had both in there, it might be 50% chance you get it, and now it might be 5%, you know. But then I have like a higher risk of diabetes, which I knew I was going to because it's a lot of that's in my family. But then when they told me like the percentage, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I got. It's another thing that motivated me to do less sugar, more dark chocolate. Just I'm trying to cut sugar out, not to be like in a fad or to be obsessive, but because I have the anecdotal proof from my family
Totally,
with
for
diabetes,
sure.
and
Yeah.
then I have the scientific proof. And I just noticed what it does to me. So I put all three together, and I'm like,
I don't like sweet things, so that wouldn't be
I
too
love
hard
it. So
for
I
me.
got to find ways around
Really?
it.
Yeah.
I
All
really
right.
love sweet stuff.
Okay.
I've been making vegan cookies that are gluten free.
Cool.
With like dark chocolate like this, no sugar in it, just coconut
Are you
sugar.
gluten free as well?
No, but
Okay.
I just noticed it. I feel better when I have less of it. You know, I had pizza last night. Like I'll have gluten here and there, but just less of it.
Totally.
Yeah. How about you?
Pescatarian.
Okay.
Yeah, since I was 18 years old.
Interesting.
Yep.
That's fish.
Yep. Just no meat.
No meat.
No, it's really actually that's just all it is. No meat of any kind. It's not. I do eggs. I do cheese. The whole reason why I didn't go vegan in the beginning was because I love eggs and cheese too
Yeah.
much. Cheese
So wait,
especially.
you don't eat fish.
I do eat fish.
Okay,
Yep.
that's the fish
Mhm,
one.
That's
okay.
the pescatarian. Yep.
Right.
Pescatarian's fish. Yep.
Right.
But yeah, when I was 18, I started, and it was like where I'm from. It was like not easy
Yeah.
to do that.
Where are you from?
Lansing, Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, right on the border of Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of grilled cheeses because we just used to like hang out at diners, kind of.
Yeah, yeah.
Because they were open forever, so we would just hang out.
Did you drink coffee there? Were you one of those coffee people?
No, so I hated coffee my entire life until I think like 3 years ago.
And that would be what, 27?
I'm 31 now.
28?
Yeah. So
That's interesting. I
it was
really got
around
into
there.
it then as well.
Really?
Yeah.
And
My roommate, like I said.
And even more interesting, I started with I only wanted cold brew. Like I didn't want the hot coffee. I think it was just the temperature. It wasn't really the liquid and the taste. It was more like I just wanted a cold beverage versus a hot beverage. And if you talk to someone who knows about coffee, they'll tell you how wrong you are. And I took with working for Whole Foods for years, I took several coffee classes. And then working at some pretty awesome restaurants in Chicago, I've had so many coffee and tea trainings. Best training I've ever had in my life was a tea training with Rare Tea Cellars. And anyone who is in kind of a finer dining sense in Chicago, they'll know that name.
Okay.
Really, really intense tea training, but also the type of guys that are like, if you make this wrong, you're ruining our product.
Yeah.
Like you're literally not doing our product the service that it deserves to go to your table.
Yeah.
That was
When you get to that certain level, like the dark chocolate, you eat this straight, You pair it with coffee. And or like this coffee, you don't put sugar and milk in that coffee.
No, I would never do that anyway.
People do.
I've never been that type. I've always black, always.
People do, but I think it's fine. I think what happens, and I learned this as well from other baristas, is they're used to the dark roast, the muddy water that you get when you just have a dark roast sitting in the pot and the water just kind of goes through and it just sits there all morning. So you kind of need something in there because there's no flavor. There's no flavor.
Right.
It's the absence of flavor. When you do a dark roast, again, this is what I've learned from other people. So if there's baristas out there, feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
Right. Comment.
Yeah, please comment. I like to know when I'm wrong and learn more. So
Same.
The roasting process burns away the caffeine and it burns off the notes, the flavors. So when you have a dark roast, it's very bland. It doesn't have much flavor. It has that little bitter kick at the end that you're kind of like, you think it's synonymous with potency, but it's not.
Yeah, you were like the cop from Dumb and Dumber just then.
Yeah.
You did that, yeah.
You shut your mouth if you know it's good for you.
Yep.
Get out of here.
You know the scene.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
thanks, it's a polo. Or no, it's
a cardigan, but thanks for asking.
Thanks for asking, yeah.
Yeah, I used to
Sorry.
obsess with that movie.
Yeah.
Like every Saturday night, just watch the VHS. Oh my God. But yeah, the coffee, it's the same thing with alcohol, with beers, with wines, with whiskey. When you get, an expensive bottle of scotch, you would never mix everything. You would pair it with stuff,
No,
maybe a
yeah.
cigar.
Drink it straight, for sure.
Maybe a puff of a joint and drink it, or a cigar, or probably other things. But same thing with certain desserts, certain meats you have with wine, certain fishes you have. There's so many pairings, and it sounds, again, like we started the conversation, sounds kind of studious.
Yeah.
A little
I
ridiculous.
could talk about this all day. I love it.
But it's good, though.
Yeah.
It's good, and you do it in small quantities. It's not like you're spending your whole amount of money you have in life on this. It's it's a treat. It's an experience. It's fun to share with friends. It's good. It's cool to hear their thoughts on it. There's always that one person that's like, I don't taste the difference. This is bullcrap.
Or so for me, it was bringing really fancy cheeses that are some of my favorite cheeses ever. I know a lot about cheese, and they would just hate it. They'd be like, "This is terrible," and I'd be like, "Please don't eat anymore."
Did you get it from Whole Foods? Learned about it from Whole Foods?
Yeah.
Because I like to go there for their cheeses.
Oh yeah, yeah. I learned so much. I mean, I sold cheese for 5 years. So it's we had
learned a
so
lot.
many classes. Yeah, got to meet a lot of people. For my best friend's bachelor party, my gift to him was we got a private tour of Jasper Hill. That doesn't happen. They do not let people go in there.
Wow.
We had full-on beard guards, because of listeria and all the things that can happen.
What's listeria?
Listeria's the infection that happens in cheese most commonly from a facility not being clean. And when that happens, it could end a company.
Oh, my God.
And it happens more often than people think. And it's really sad because people then are like, well, this is a terrible company. That doesn't mean that they're a terrible company. you have to monitor everything so closely. And when we went, it was like, so there's cellars. It's the cellars of Jasper Hill, and giant cavernous cheese caverns of shelves as tall as you can see of wheels of cheese. They actually get flipped by a robot, and we got to see it. It was horrifying.
Where is this at?
Vermont.
Okay.
Yep,
I went
Vermont.
to Vermont once, and it was the best Vermont white cheddar cheese I ever had. I stopped in this
love
random
Vermont.
place, just driving through.
Yeah.
When you go east to west or west to east through Vermont, New Hampshire, there's no interstates. They all go north and south because it's they're too slim of states, and there's just too many mountains.
That's
The
interesting.
green national forest and the white national forest, I think that's what they're called. It's all mountains and forests, so you can't. The highways are too hard to get through, so they go north and south, and it's all like meandering, smaller roads. And you just stop in random towns, and I stopped at this random town, and they had like not too expensive for what it was, but like an $8 piece of cheese, brick of cheese, and it
Right.
was from the local farm, from the cows there, and it was, oh my goodness.
It might have been Jasper
phenomenal.
Hill.
Could have been. It was phenomenal. Absolutely delicious.
But yeah, we had a blast, and it was just like, every room was kind of like a giant vault door. We were like wearing boots, lab coats, and we had to like clean our shoes before we walked in the rooms. That's how serious they take it, and that's why they don't do tours.
Yeah.
And there's no photography. You can't take a photo.
Yeah.
They let you take one photo at the end, and they take it for you. On your phone. And that's it. And there's no tasting. That was like a thing that my buddies were bummed about. We're like, oh, we thought we were gonna get to taste everything. And it's just like, no, this is literally where they make the cheese. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't like, I don't even know, like some fun farm. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
yeah.
this is like the real deal. And like the fact that we got let in there, I'm still like eternally grateful. They let people sign their wall
Oh, cool.
who like get to go because it's so small.
How many? Was there a lot of signatures on the wall?
I mean, there was probably like 50 if I
Okay.
had to guess.
yeah. So not many for what it is.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting.
I love cheese, man. Love cheese.
I love
Harbison
cheese.
is my favorite cheese of all time.
What is?
Harbison.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a wash rind, really funky, really gooey. Got to eat it at room temperature. Actually, all cheese is at room temperature.
Okay.
Not a lot of people know that, but
I didn't know that.
don't eat it cold.
Okay.
It's just like with this talking about the flavors. They're ready to go at
So
room temperature.
store it cold.
Store it cold. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you say like just wait 30 minutes?
Yeah. I mean, like, so with Harbison, I usually wait 30 minutes to an hour.
Wow. I didn't know that at all.
Or you can get, if you're really impatient like me, you can preheat your oven and just
Okay.
stick it in there as it's preheating.
It's a flavor thing. It's a notes thing. Like they come out more when they get to room temperature.
Correct.
Yeah, I could see that because most things change with temperature. Coffee's notes change with temperature. Alcohol can change with temperature. Like bourbon, when you drink it neat versus ice in it versus the stones in it, that changes it. Obviously, the ice dilutes it while it raises the
And
temperature.
the
that
type of
changes
ice, there's a lot of people that'll get
yeah.
real crazy
Yeah,
with you
yeah.
about ice.
Yeah. Same thing with the water for coffee. Like I've gotten it to the best I can get it in this house. My roommate, my ex-roommate who got me into it was like, yeah, now you need to start buying these special package that you put in the water to get the mineral content to the right amount.
I haven't
and the
heard
pH
this yet.
to the right
This
level.
is a new one for me for
Yeah,
coffee.
it makes sense because it's
it totally makes
99%
sense.
water, you know?
It's just like beer.
Yeah.
Beer's all about the water that they use. People like don't realize it's like water is everything
Yeah.
in beer. Everything.
I've heard that about pizza dough too, because you put water in it, and different water and decent water can change the dough and change the flavor. Same thing with the sauce. If you put the way you get your tomatoes and if there's any water in it, anything that's water based, it's a huge factor.
Totally.
because it's all full of minerals and there's different pH levels, and it matters. It adds up on the molecular level. You know, it gets into it. I don't know how we got talking about this.
We're just going.
That's the best part about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about actually before we go into music.
Yeah.
I wanted to promote this painting by my good
awesome.
friend Leah Morris, who is an excellent painter and just a wonderful person. I've known her for I think 14 years. Just really great, super nice, just very talented, great with her words, great with her expression, very creative, and she's always just she's brought me like, you know, a couple pieces of artwork just for fun, and this one she brought recently. It's really cool.
I love it. And I love that, like, you know, someone could have just painted the seahorse and then made like a generic blue background, but like, look at how detailed her background is.
Yeah, that
Like,
blue it goes everywhere.
It's all over the place. I love it.
It's cool too. Like these lights right here. There's lights that are changing color, so it changes the blues and the yellow within the seahorse, and it's interesting.
I love it. Blue and yellow is my favorite colors.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's interesting you
Sweden.
say that. I was just looking at a T-shirt that was blue and yellow, and it looked so attractive. I wanted to get it.
Just because it was blue and yellow.
Yeah, I like the combo.
Okay.
Of blue and
Yeah,
yellow.
I
And
do
it's
too.
funny, I didn't realize it.
Right.
I could see why. They complement each other really well.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
thank
beautiful.
you, Leah. And follow her on Instagram. I believe, I'm trying to think, what would her Instagram be? I know she has a personal one, but let me find out real quick. Her,
I have my phone right here. If you want me to
type
search.
in Leah
Okay,
Morris.
totally.
Yeah.
I could help you.
I know, sometimes artists will have very specific Instagram handles.
Totally.
So I
Mine's,
just wanna-
mine's really stupid too.
Yeah, I want to get it right for people who are listening that want to look it up.
What's the last name?
Morris?
Morris.
I should have done this
don't think
before the
that's
show.
her.
I'm so...
Oh. Is this her? Leah Morris Persona, Chicago artist?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's
so
it.
it's leahpersona.art.
There you go.
Is her handle. And I just followed her.
Thank you. And everyone else should.
Everyone else should.
LeahPersona.art.
Yep.
Follow her artwork. She's very talented and a wonderful person.
Awesome.
All right. Music.
Music. Yay, music.
I wanted to have you on the show because when you first came in here to do a session, we instantly nerded out about guitars.
Right.
Which
I
is always a
love
great
guitars.
thing.
I love instruments, really.
Yeah. And then music. And then didn't realize how far back and similar our DIY experiences are.
Mm-hmm. And we know a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
I even had one recently text me about you.
Oh, really?
Yep, Mary Kate Duffy.
Oh, my God.
So
I haven't
you
heard that
know
name in a
her
while.
husband.
Yeah.
And yeah, she texted me and she's like, ha ha ha, I know Ben, something like you went to college with one of them or something. I don't know. But she's like, yeah, I remember going to DZ Fest. And I'm like, yeah, I was like, I don't really know him, but he knows everyone that I do. And like, he seems like an awesome dude. Yeah. But it was just funny. Like she saw that I posted, the live at DZ Records thing. And she's like, yeah, I know Ben. Just randomly texted me.
Small world.
Yeah. We know a lot of the same people.
We know.
We do.
Probably like 1,000 of
Like
the same people.
more than we realize for sure.
More than most people would ever think you would have in common with a person you never met, until you
Totally.
came in through like a month ago.
Yep.
Or like, well, it was like a little bit over a month ago, right?
That
End
sounds
of
right.
December.
Yep. Right before the new year. Yep.
Yeah, man. So you started out, when did you start playing music?
I started playing guitar first, probably honestly like when I was a kid, but I didn't like really stick with it. And then in I think 6th grade, I had my first lessons. Place called Music Lab in Lansing, Illinois. It's the only music store in Lansing, Illinois. It doesn't exist anymore. Excuse me. Anyone from Lansing would know it. Most amazing teacher ever. Dude named Andy Walker. Straight up out of it, hair metal band. Giant, long, bleach blonde hair, ripped up jeans, ripped up shirt. Totally just wanted to teach me like Eddie Van Halen, but I didn't want to learn that. And he just taught me tab, and then I stopped taking lessons because I'm an idiot. I should have stuck with it the whole time, but as soon as I learned tab, I stopped. I think I took a month of lessons.
You said 6th grade?
6th grade, yeah.
So like 12, 11?
And then I stopped. I stopped playing completely, and then I got real serious at 16, and that was a drum set.
Nice.
Yep,
So you said you're more of a drummer.
I'm a drummer first, for sure.
And then guitar secondary, bass secondary.
I'm like Dave Grohl. I should just be playing the drums, but unfortunately, I sing and play guitar.
And so you started playing drums at 16. Were you in any bands of any kind?
Not yet, but I like very shortly after that started our first band. If you even want to call it a band, I mean it was, but we never really did anything. It was a post rock jam band with me and my amazing friends Chris Sendejas and Dylan Pascula, who would both go on to be in a million bands themselves. And then our friend Tony Cox would join us later. And all we did was we basically put a microphone on and played, and that turned into like 20 songs. But
Wait. How old were you when you did that?
Man, 17, 18.
That's so funny. I did
Some of it's
very
dude,
similar thing.
Some of it sounds okay.
Oh, you still have them?
Oh, they're on MySpace.
Oh, no.
Oh yeah, I just dropped MySpace. Yep.
Man.
Some of them ended up sounding okay, 100% improvised. Not a single thing was talked about. It was just us playing. And,
That's cool.
And we, me and and Chris and Tony came from like, we really liked like Cigaros and Mogwai and Explosions in the Sky and bands like that. And then later I would hear Godspeed You Black Emperor, and then those other bands didn't exist because they put them all to shame, in my opinion. Well, except for Cigaros. But anyway.
You're being a little.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm a douchebag. But Dylan didn't come from that stuff at all. Dylan came from like, he knew how to play like Jimi Hendrix and like can do it note for note.
Okay.
And he knew how to play Mars Volta note for note. And I'm like, I'm not kidding. He's that
So
talented.
you have a friend named Dylan who's
named
really
Dylan.
good at guitar that plays music like verbatim.
He
I have a
used to.
friend, Dylan, who does the same thing.
Okay.
We have too many similarities. It's kind of funny.
It's weird.
And we play in bands together. We're in a band right now
We both
together.
have glasses on. We have brownish hair, beards.
Glasses. Wait, I want to talk about glasses real quick. We're going to get
I
back
love
to
Warby
music.
Parkers.
America's Best? I don't even know.
Okay.
Wherever it's
Amazing
cheapest.
customer service. Customer
Yeah?
service, incredible.
I'll have to check it out.
Incredible.
I've heard things, like good things. I just never did it because there's not one around here. And America's Best right there. But I heard recently, and I never thought, have you been wearing glasses your whole life?
Nope.
When did you start?
This is another thing that was probably 4 years ago.
4 years ago? And
4
they're
or 5 years
prescription?
ago. They are prescription, yep.
Okay.
Light-
It's funny I have
it's
to
a
ask
light
that.
stigmatism.
I didn't know I had to ask that.
I didn't know either.
But apparently
I
you
just
do.
learned something new.
Because apparently
Oh, you mean
individuals wear
people
them
just
for fun.
For fashion, yeah. I did that when I was a freshman in high school.
Well, that makes sense
Mm-hmm.
when you're 14. I'm sorry, I'm doing a slight jab at people who don't understand what it's like to wear glasses for 28 years, like I have been. And then
You hated me when I was...
No, well, like I wore them. They broke all the time. I got made fun of. It was always a thing.
Really?
Oh yeah,
got made fun of
yeah.
for glasses?
Well,
I just...
that's
I
because
think
you're not
it's
the
like-
type of
that's
person who
like-
would make fun of anybody.
Well, that's not true.
Well,
I was
it-
an asshole when I was in
But
school.
you know what I mean. You probably would
Sure.
have made fun of someone for wearing
I don't,
glasses.
yeah, not glasses. That seems like a thing that like would happen in my dad's school.
Oh no, it happened.
Okay.
It was a thing.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I mean it wasn't a big deal.
Okay.
It's just like it's funny. Like forever, people tried to get contacts or like not wear glasses. If you did, you were kind of like the goofy geek.
I think
you
that
know?
my girlfriend actually might be that way a little bit. She's a contact person, and she like, I think she has like a little embarrassment when she wears her glasses.
Which is weird because where I was going with this is recently I had some good friends of mine, different ages, different backgrounds, and they didn't even conspire to have this conversation. They were like, yeah, when you see someone with glasses, you think they're smarter or something. And I was like, really? I never thought that. I just thought you needed to wear them because you needed to wear them. It had nothing to do with anything else.
It's like that episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm when Leon puts the glasses on. Yeah. They take him more seriously because he has glasses on.
But like, I didn't think about that because it's normal to people who just wear them because you need to. And contacts are a different thing that only recently I've been able to get because of the.
I can't touch my eyes. I'm way too scared.
Oh, really?
I'm horrified.
Yeah, it's not the problem with me. It's just I have weird eyes, and I only recently the technology was there for it to be possible.
Got it.
But I've been wearing glasses for so long that it's just I'm just used to it. I don't mind them. I like touching them, pushing them up. It's I like to be able to hide behind them. You know.
I don't mind them either, but now how fun is it to be wearing a mask and just fog?
Oh my God!
It happens to me constantly. I have to take them off, and then I'm just like, well, I
There's a
still
little
have my
trick I've
glasses
learned.
on.
You slide the mask under it, and you put the
Okay.
glasses on top.
I've been
And
told
try to breathe down a bit.
that you need a mask with wires in it. I've heard that's because it's malleable.
yeah.
You can bend them.
Interesting.
So if
Yeah.
it's a problem for you.
I've learned to accept it because every winter, my whole life, my glasses have fogged up. You
Totally.
know,
It's just
and
not a
every
normal thing.
summer when you go from like a really cold to a really hot, it gets all foggy. But yeah, it's interesting. I had a friend the other day who was saying like, oh yeah, people wear them for like fashion, just glasses.
Oh,
Either
totally,
the
for
lenses
sure.
are not prescription or no lenses at all. And I'm like, whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah, I think that's probably been a thing forever. Probably.
Really? I had no idea.
I mean, maybe. I don't know, actually. That's a...
No
know?
way it was
maybe
like
not.
20, 30 plus years ago because it's strictly a
I don't
functional
know.
thing. You think so?
In the 80s,
You're right,
I would say
yeah.
that someone that hung out with Andy Warhol's crowd in the factory
You know what?
probably wore glasses
You're
for
right.
fashion.
We shouldn't generalize. I have no idea. I just, in my world,
We should
I
look
never
this up.
knew.
Can you look that up?
I can't wait to have a
I don't know if you
producer
can.
look this
Can
stuff
you?
up.
Would someone know that?
I'm sure
no
there's
one would know.
anecdotal
A
information.
theory.
Yeah, it's weird. There's a lot of interesting fashion statements. Again, I have no problem with it. It blew my mind. I didn't know that something that's like technically like a medical thing that people need, just done deliberately just because. It's very fascinating. Like, yeah, I don't know.
I think probably anything could be fashion.
It can be. I'm
People
learning that.
drape
Yeah.
dead animals over them and wear that for fashion.
People do that. People lay in a tanning bed.
People in a tanning bed.
People don't lay in a tanning bed and they're as white as a ghost. People wear clothes that are very revealing. People overly wear clothes that reveal nothing. It's quite fascinating. I like fashion. And I just never knew the glasses thing. It blew my mind. I was like, man, someone would deliberately put these things on and take care of them and have them be in the way and make marks on your nose for fun.
You're like all the things I've hated my
all
whole
the things
life.
I'm just dealing with,
Yeah,
and they're just like, I'm gonna do this
insane.
anyway. It's
Yeah.
like, oh man. But back to music. That was a side tangent.
Yeah.
You
It's funny,
started.
I wish I was there when you had that realization.
It happens to me all the time. I kind of live under a rock, and
Okay. I'll start sending you articles. I'll start
Yeah.
sending you things I come across.
well, I need people to inform me because I don't ever know. Like I never get like spoilers from anything. People complain about spoilers, and I'm like, how did you find the spoiler? I'm always on the internet. I don't see anything.
What kind of spoilers are we
Just
talking
a
about?
movie,
Any
a
kind.
show,
Okay.
a new thing that happened. I'm always days behind. Someone's like, "You
I
hear
got
what
it.
happened?"
Yeah,
I'm
like
"What
Game of
happened?"
Thrones or something.
Just
Someone
anything.
ruins the episode.
I never know what anyone's
I got
talking
you.
about.
Yeah.
And I like it, but it's really funny the responses I get. Friends are just like, "What do you mean you don't know about this?" And I'm like, "I don't know." Like,
You should
the
watch
salt guy, the salt dude.
Yeah, the rest.
I
Yeah.
didn't know about that until
It's okay. You don't need to know about useless
I know,
stuff
but
like
you know
that.
what I'm saying?
You
I was
don't
just like,
need to
"What
know
is
that.
this?" My friend was that for Halloween, and I was
Like,
like, "Who
what
are you?"
yeah, I
and
don't
he's
get
like,
it.
"I'm Salt Bay, Salt Bay."
I don't even know. See, look, I don't know.
Something like that. And I was like, who? And everyone's looking at me like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
A guy who flicks salt at things? I was so confused.
You should watch the Coen Brothers movie. What is it? A Serious Man.
Oh, yeah, that's a good movie.
He says, or remember, he's like scribbling on the thing, and he says, so he's like, they're like, what are you doing? And he says like, so no one knows, or what? No one knows what anyone's talking about. And he's like scribbling on the. That's what he just reminded me of that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And he's wearing glasses.
I
in
love
that
the
movie.
Coen Brothers.
Yeah.
Love their movies so much.
I'm excited for whatever they're doing next. It's been a year or so since their last movie, 2 years. They do
What was
movies
that?
often.
Yeah, what was the last one I remember?
The last one I saw from them was Hail Caesar. It's been a while.
Oh wow, I haven't. Oh no, Buster Scruggs.
Buster Scruggs, you're
So
right.
good.
I don't know how I missed.
It's
Yeah, I did see
so
that. That was really
good.
good. That was what, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. That was really
Yeah,
sad.
I haven't seen the Caesar one though that you just mentioned. I'm gonna have to
Hail
look that up.
Caesar
Haven't
came
seen
out
that.
maybe 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
I haven't seen that. I'm a big fan. I just watched Being Llewyn Davis the other night.
Mm-hmm.
They put it on
Being inside?
Inside. What did I say?
Inside.
Yeah,
being.
Inside.
It's the same. That
Yeah.
means the same thing.
Yeah.
If you're inside someone's mind,
Kind of
you're
like
being
Bob
them.
Dylan, but it's not.
Yeah, it is very. What's his name? Who does it? Oscar Isaac.
Star Wars guy.
Oscar Isaac.
Yep.
Yeah,
He's awesome.
he is awesome.
he's
He's done a lot of awesome movies the last decade. Kind of out of nowhere. Ex Machina,
Oh, I
Star
love
Wars,
that movie. I love
Most
Ex Machina
Violent
so
Year.
much.
What else? Good amount of movies.
Yeah.
But music. So
Music.
you're 18 years old. You're playing in these bands.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start playing shows or having shows at your home?
We had the first show, and similar to DZ Records in your situation, at my house,
Yeah.
in my basement. And I was very, very thankful to have a father that allowed that to happen when we were young and loud, The first show at my house ever must have been when I was, again, 17 or 18. I can't figure out if it's one or the other. And it was Matt Novak. So Matt Novak was our resident Elliott Smith. So it was him and a nylon string guitar. He sung so quiet that it was like he was whispering. And grandpa sweaters, beanie. This was before anyone dressed like that. He was like the OG hipster. So Matt Novak played, and he had a side thing that was basically him, but just with two more band members, and it was someone playing keys, excuse me, and then someone playing drums. So he was the first show, and I remember it was so ridiculous. We literally set up chairs, and I think had a snack table. It was like a high school dance.
Well, you don't know. You're trying it out.
It was just my dad. Like, he was trying to be so accommodating, and it was
Yeah.
cool. Like girls came, so
Wait,
that
what are
was a
those?
cool thing,
Yeah, isn't that a thing when you're 17, 18? You're just like, I don't understand how to interface with women. So when that happens, when you have a show and women show up, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Well, yeah. What are those creatures over there? Their hair's longer than mine. But then, so he was the first one. He broke the seal. It's actually really. I haven't thought about that in so long. So thank you for having me think about that. And Matt's like, music's awesome. Like, he literally, like, he's, I would say, of the caliber of Elliott Smith. I wouldn't say that. I don't want to get anyone mad for, like, this, that, and the other. But that's the best way that I would categorize him as far as his music went. And then we had our first show. So the first show that we ever had with our bands was, so 2 bands were formed, and it was me and Stevie, and that was Why So Serious. Yes, it came from Batman: The Dark Knight. I know, we're really lame. And then the other band was the Paramedics. So the Paramedics was Dylan, who I talked about earlier, and Nnamdi. Y'all know who Nnamdi is now.
Oh yeah, Nnamdi's doing great.
He's doing real great.
He's amazing.
Yep. And what is it? Monobody's releasing a new song tomorrow. Fun fact.
Awesome.
So anyway, so they were doing it for a long time before me and Stevie, and then me and Stevie, like, in high school, I literally said, like, hey, you play, like, seriously, it was like from a movie. I was like, hey, you play bass, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, you should come over and we should start a band. And that's literally how it happened.
Classic.
Classic. So Paramedics was Dylan playing guitar, Nnamdi playing drums, but Nnamdi wrote all the bass parts. Not a lot of people know that. Nnamdi played all the bass parts, recorded all the bass parts. They used to play, they would plug in a phone to a fucking speaker and play. And their bass player would be a speaker, because they didn't have one yet. Anyway, so they were the band, and then me and Stevie were drum and bass, very like, kind of like Lightning Bolt, Death from Above. That's kind of like what we wanted to be, even though we sucked. So that was the first show, was Why So Serious and the Paramedics. I think there was a poster that was made somewhere that, like, hung behind on the wall.
And where is this? This is at your house
Lansing,
in Lansing?
Illinois.
And how did you know? Did these people go to high school with you?
I went to high school with all of them.
Yeah.
I've known Dylan since 2nd grade.
Okay.
And then the band that would make us start getting, like, a little bit more serious, like, because we weren't, like, really serious. We were playing shows, like, around town and stuff, and even in random suburbs, mostly house shows.
Yeah.
But then we said, wait, there's 4 of us. Why don't we just start a band with all of us in it? And that was called Richard Duff and the Mos Pryors. And yes, it's Richard Pryor and Mos Duff.
Yeah. That's a good name.
We recorded a record in my friend Mark Dittmar's basement, and I love it. I love that record. It's awesome. It's super spastic. It's super weird. Mikey Giannone. The first song on the record, First Blood, that's his favorite song ever. He would, like, at our shows, he's like, you gotta play First Blood. And
I'll text him right now. I'm like, Mikey, is this true?
No, he was an advocate specifically for that song. Like, he was like, that's, like, the best song you guys wrote, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, like, we only have, like, 10 songs. Like, of course we're gonna play it. Like, and we always open with it. So
what year was this?
So this was probably 2008 or 2009, maybe,
like right after high school.
2010. But the record was recorded. Yeah, it was right after high school. Yeah, and then we broke up. We weren't a band anymore. We played a few shows around town, and then Paramedics went on tour, so we got to go on tour. Me and Stevie went with them, but it wasn't like a Richard Duff tour. It was a Paramedics tour, and we toured the country, and that was really awesome.
At a young age, what, 19, 20?
Oh, yeah. No, even probably younger than that.
Wow. That's cool.
Probably 19. And we were in a van. We didn't know where we were going to sleep. We didn't have barely any money. This whole thing was winged. Funnest time of my life.
I bet.
Greatest.
That's the best time to do it at 19. You don't really need much
ever.
To survive at 19.
People were so nice.
Yeah.
So many people let us stay at their house. Like, we had people, our friend Seth, who is now also in a bunch of
Seth Engel?
Yep.
Yeah.
Options Music. Yeah. He was like, dude, because he actually played a show in our hometown with another band that he was in touring, and that's how we met him. And then he was like, yeah, when you guys get to Philly, like, you can stay with us. His parents had like mansions where like it's like a giant, beautiful house with like an in-ground pool and stuff. Yeah, we were very fortunate.
Yeah, the underground indie music scene in this country is exquisite, to put it nicely. And I have had many bands stay here in the same realm of just they'd reach out. We're doing a session, then they go. Sometimes they ask like, would you happen to have a place for us to stay? Or I can just tell and I'll offer. Like, also, if you guys want to just crash here. Either way, people stay here. They used to stay a lot pre-COVID.
Right.
One of my favorite things about doing all this is just the camaraderie of just hanging out with different creative people from around the globe.
There was a band in Louisiana called Shapes Like Dinosaurs. Amazing band. And we like stayed up all night just talking and like geeking out about music, you know? And yeah, I used to do the same thing. I would let bands stay at my house. There's a band from Kentucky, Louisville, called Mountain Asleep, which was a punk band, and we really, really loved them. And I remember like them coming to Lansing and playing at the comic book shop. That's where we had our shows. Those guys were awesome. Fun fact about Richard Duff, this is one of my favorite things ever. When we played our first show at the comic book shop, when we came in, he thought we were a comedy act. He didn't know we were a band.
Why do you think that?
Because of the name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He thought we were a comedy act, and he's like, he like saw us like, I'm carrying a bass drum, and he's like, "You're a band?"
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
Man, so you started young with the shows and touring and the music scene, and you started having more shows at your house?
Yeah, so the big thing that happened was every year on my birthday, that was kind of the big show. So not the big show, because that's a separate
thing. Yeah.
But I would have them on my birthday every year, and it got to the point where I was having literally my favorite bands of all time play. So
awesome.
Unique Cheek, Day Triumph, like those are, like some of my favorite bands ever, and bands that weren't anything yet played, and then they didn't become something. Those were my favorite. So like Hellbender is one that I'll always go back to, and it was the Day Triumph guys with my homie Stefan, who was in a band called Danger Danger back in the day with Chris, and they all got together, and it was just like a string wizard, like instrumental band. Oh my God. Mind-blowing how good they were. With Smythe on the drums, Brendan Smythe.
Oh, Brendan Smythe. I've known him forever. We worked
He's
at
awesome.
UPS together.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's funny enough, I worked at UPS with a lot of people that play in these bands. I think that's like a middle ground around here where people go to. Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, I got to do this part-time job while I'm in college or playing music at night, because if you work the day shift there, you work like 9:50 to like 2.
Oh, really?
Like 4 hours. So you have
That's
the whole
amazing.
evening to go play shows.
That's
and
great.
you still can kind of wake up late and go to work. Like you could stay up late playing shows till 2 a.m. and still wake up at 9 and get to work on time. It was kind of, when you're like 21,
Perfect,
22, it's
right?
perfect, and still allows you to like go to class if you're in school and stuff. It's a good gig for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and he worked there. He was in so many bands. People would come and do a session. Of course, Brendan would show up again. I'd be like, of course, you're in this other band.
I loved Freudian Slip a lot.
Oh yeah.
And then
first show I ever played ever here was with Freudian Slip, and the first my play show anywhere else was at the Ashbury Coffee Shop, which everyone knows about.
Yeah.
It was with Freudian Slip.
First time I saw Unique Cheek was Ashbury.
Yeah, I saw them there too. 12, a long time ago.
Aurora handed everyone sparklers.
Really?
Yep.
That's
and they were
fun.
supposed to like light them during a song.
I love Joe
awesome.
and Aurora a lot.
Yeah.
Great people.
I do too.
That's why I had Joe on here first. I was like, you're the best.
And like Joe's like, I love talking to him because
he's great.
He has the best stories. He just has the best stories. He totally does. No one can beat Joe's stories. I don't care what anyone says.
No, you can't.
Like I cannot top anything that he says.
That's what happens when you have a caring, open, and loving mind. It subjects you to strange, unique, and profound experiences when you just say yes to everything, and you're a yes person, and you're an open person. After 35, 40 years, things start. There's crazy stories.
Yeah.
There's wild stuff, and yeah, it's especially like being present for them, being like a little bit more sober for them.
Yeah.
Which I think he was, and that's why I think his stories are everywhere because you can remember them, you know, when you're like there and not just like, yeah, we had this party. I don't know. It was this crazy thing. I was drunk. I don't remember, you know.
That was another thing that was cool with us with music. We never did that stuff.
Yeah.
We never even thought about it. It
Man, I
wasn't
wish
like,
I was going to those shows.
yeah, no, like I think in the beginning I started saying like you can't like bring drugs or alcohol, but then
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not gonna be that person. But I'm
Yeah.
like, just be respectful, you know. Like if you're throwing your shit in my neighbor's yard, like I'm gonna tell you to fuck off and get out, you know. But yeah, we all our friends like when we were in high school, we never did any of that, you know. I didn't have my first drink until I was like 24, 23 or something.
Interesting.
But
Did you think that freed up time and mental capacity to focus on the music to do all that?
I don't know that it freed up time, but I mean, in those days, you know, I sound like I'm 50 years old right now. That's all that I thought about. I think that's what a lot of us, that's all that we thought
Yeah,
about.
that's all I thought about too.
Just music.
Nothing
I
else
just
really
cared
compared.
like drums was everything to me. I just wanted to play drums nonstop, you know?
Did you end up playing drums in other bands?
Yeah. So yeah, Seconds Before Sunrise was first, and I was the drummer for all these bands. I didn't clarify that. Then Why So Serious, then Richard Deaf, and then I would go on to work on a very famous place around these parts called Music Go Round, which I know that you know, and we haven't even talked about it, but I know that you know. You like that? You like how I just knew that you knew it?
Of course. I mean, I bought my 1977 Fender Twin Reverb from there.
Yes. So I started working there. And that was like such a great job because I'm you know, I'm a gearhead. I love gear more than anything. So like all these people would come in and like some of them I'm like so Karma with the K is one of my all-time favorite Chicago bands of all time. Question and Answers is one of, if not, I think like the greatest song that ever came out of Chicago. Listen to that song.
Who is it by?
Karma with a K. They're not a
Karma with
band
a K,
anymore. They haven't been a
Questions
band
and Answers.
for years. Karma with a K, Questions and Answers. They were like MC5. They literally were like MC5. Anyway, so the lead singer, I remember came in one time, and I was like, "Oh, like, dude, Karma with a K," and like this was like already like after they broke up, and I was like, just let me know, like I'll hook you up, you know, I'm like that guy at a guitar store, like I'll hook you up, and he was like, "Oh, like we're starting this new band called Gypsy Blood," and I'm like, "Oh, cool, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Let me know if you need a drummer." He's like, "No, like we're in the middle of recording," and it was like two of the members from Karma with a K, so the bass player in Karma with a K was the drummer. And same thing, they made one record, they broke up, they never were anything. But that record was really cool because it was 100,000,000%, and I think they did this on purpose. It was Jesus and Mary Chain. I mean, just like to a T.
Okay.
Like, it sounded identical.
Got it.
But I didn't know that at
Yeah.
the time because I never heard of Jesus and Mary Chain. I didn't start listening to, you know, music like that till years later. Like
Yeah.
Jesus and Mary Chain, of course, My Bloody Valentine, Bow Down and Worship. Like I didn't hear
And
that
you
music.
get that from Lost in Translation.
100%.
And that's why I first heard
Sometimes.
them.
Yep.
Sometimes, and Just Like Honey ends the movie when Bill Murray whispers,
Yep.
or when Scarlett Johansson whispers in his ear. I think
Bill Murray
he
whispers in her ear.
which
Yep.
is what a great ending. And then that
Yeah.
movie, that song comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wow, we're nerds, huh?
Oh yeah. You have no idea.
You got to embrace it.
Yeah. Anyway, to continue answering your question, so Ernie, who you know Ernie,
Yeah, the bass player from
Unique
Unique
Cheek,
Cheek, yeah.
came in, and those guys knew me because I was ultra fan Unique Cheek. Me and this girl Katie.
You don't say. Maybe you have a tattoo,
Yeah,
huh?
I do have a tattoo. Yeah, I'm not going to take my sweater off, but it's unfortunate. But I used to go to every one of their shows, and it got to the point to where I would text Joe, and he would get me into all ages shows when I was 18. He would get me into 21 and up shows. When I was 17, he would get me into 18 and up shows.
Nice.
Because he knew how much I loved the band.
Yeah.
So anyway, Ernie came in. He bought a controller, like 88 key controller, and I sold it to him for like half off, and he like couldn't believe it. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes things like that can happen here. And I was like, oh, like what are you guys doing? Unique Cheek was totally broken up at this time. And he's like, oh, I think we're gonna like start this other thing, you know. And it wasn't even a name for it yet or anything. And I was like, dude, if you need a drummer, you know, like Unique Cheek's my favorite band of all time. Paul is my favorite drummer of all time. He's one of the best drummers in the world. I don't care what anyone says. He literally is. So Ernie told Joe, and then Joe was like, hey, like, come to our studio in Chicago and like just let's jam and see, what it feels like. You know how it is when you're playing with someone for the first time.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other. And it was I think Downbeat Studios in Chicago. James Beasley was in a band called Them Roaring Twenties that used to play at Ashbury all the time.
Yeah.
So it was him and then this other guy, I think his name was Mike. And James was playing keys in Hunt 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 Camp. And yeah, I sat in and it was like, we were like thick as thieves because I know how to play all the Unique Chic songs.
Yeah.
I learned them on the drums, you know?
Yeah.
So it was like, I know how Joe plays guitar.
Yeah.
I know how Ernie plays bass. So yeah, I would go on to join the band. Still to this day, the greatest thing ever that I've ever been a part of. I can't, say how thankful that I am. I only ended up because the record was already in the midst of being made. I'm only on 3 of the songs, but like for a lot of it, like I wrote most of the drum parts for the entire record. I think there was only 2 songs that I did.
Which record?
The Light on a Landfill. There's only one Hunt 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 Camp record. Yeah. Which is sad.
It is sad.
But there is.
I know. Well, the only reason why I asked which one because I forgot that I don't think Joe's released other stuff, but I know he has other stuff.
He does.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like in my head knowing that I forgot that the mass public, it's not there,
So then, same thing. We played 2 shows, maybe 3. We played one in a basement. That was our first one. I didn't even have a drum set at the time. I had to borrow my friend's drum set. And then we played one at, what's that venue? The Double Door, maybe? One of the venues. I can't remember.
No longer.
It's, which is the one that's not Sub T, but it's by Sub T?
Double Door.
It was Double Door.
Yeah, and that's not there anymore.
No, it's not there. Yeah. And I remember thinking at the time, I was like, man, the Rolling Stones played here.
Did they?
Apparently, I saw it on a wall there or something.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I just remember thinking that.
You know, that's weird. When you play a venue that someone you idolize played, like it happened to me in 2012.
I don't idolize the Stones for the record. I'm just messing with you.
I know what you mean, but like in 2012, the band I was in Wilshire at the time. We played at the Subterranean.
I love Sub T more than anything. I love that venue so much.
It's great. And this was pre downstairs. It was just the upstairs. And we played, and then 2 days later, I was there front row for Dinosaur Jr.
Hell yeah.
And Jay Mascis was standing right where I played. And he's one of my guitar musician creative idols.
That's why you got those jazz masters downstairs.
Sonic Youth, My Bloody Valentine, Swirlies. Yeah, that's where I got it from. But Jay Mascis. But just seeing that, I was like, man, I was just there 2 days ago, and it's a tiny venue. And it's not a big deal, but seeing bands like that in those places, it's really, I don't know. It just makes you, it also humanizes you. It makes you realize, like, they're just a person. You're just a person.
Yeah.
They're just doing their thing. You did your thing. No one's on top or better than the next. We're all just playing here and putting music out, you know?
And I think that it's great when it's really awesome that you had that realization. But what is also awesome is, like, I got to experience it with, like, I became friends with my favorite band of all time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that, it could have gone totally a different way. They could have just been like, fuck off, kid.
Yeah.
You know? But they didn't. They were like super awesome, nice people.
Well, that's what makes a lot of musicians and artists and now friends such great people is they are like that.
Totally.
Like, that's what makes Joe, to me, such a great person is that he is like that.
Yeah.
That he's nervous to sit where you are and talk when that's all Joe does is talk.
It was so funny. Oh my God.
You checked that episode out?
Dude, like I watched it, like I just played it like in the background, you know, I was on my computer, but yeah, he was like having a hard time.
I know. I was like, Joe, it's fine. Like, it's just, we've talked before, you know? I remember when I first...
You go and grab bourbon, you're like, here.
Yeah, I know, right? I could have, yeah. I don't know. It's a lot of people... I've asked a lot of people if they, you know, at some point would want to come on. And some people just, they're nervous. They don't know, like, they think they don't know how to have, like, a conversation. I'm like, all that's going on right now, like, when you came in here, we almost had to reiterate a lot that we already talked about when you first came in for an hour. The only difference is there's microphones in front of our mouths and there's headphones on our ears. Yeah. But we're doing the same thing anyway.
100%.
And
This would literally just be me and you in your kitchen having coffee. And we'd be talking about the same stuff.
About music and cheese and art
Yep.
and the crazy shows. And let's go back to the shows now that I said that. So you're having shows at your house. Did it have a name? Did you call this anything?
No, so it didn't have a name. I think I realize now that it would have been cooler if it did, because later Nnamdi did the same thing at his house, and it was Nnamdi's Pancake House.
Yeah.
And he used to make pancakes for the bands. But no, it didn't have a name. But I know the one of my favorite ones was my golden birthday, so my 19th birthday, December 19th. And I remember, and the best part was like Chris, who does my tattoos and designed the shirt. He would make amazing posters for these shows. I pray, Chris, if you still have them, please send them to me just so I could look at them.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember that was like a really big one. And we got like all of the favorite bands. And that was the same thing. There was another new band that didn't become something, and it was one of Ian's bands. And Chris and Stefan were in that band. It might have been like an early, maybe like when Ian might have been thinking about Waterhouse, but like, I don't know. But yeah, that I don't even remember what the name was, but Chris was the drummer, Stefan played guitar, and I want to say Ian's girlfriend might have played keys at the time. Maybe. I could be wrong about that. But yeah, that was just so great, man. I miss that stuff more than anything, and we had so much fun. But no, it didn't have a name. Yeah.
Interesting. Why? No reason you didn't do a name?
No reason. I just didn't think about it, really. I don't know why, but I just didn't.
How many shows did you have there?
Oh God, I don't know.
Just a bunch.
Yeah, 100 maybe.
How many years? Over the course, how many years at your house?
So that must have been 4 probably.
4 years?
Yeah, maybe less than that even, but I feel like 4 is probably the answer.
How often would you have a show?
Not that often. So it was like a few, I don't know, like something cut out, headphones cut out. I don't know why.
You have no headphones now?
No, I got no headphones.
Plug.
Sorry, it might have been my foot.
Is it back?
Yeah. I can't remember how often, but I feel like it wasn't like a crazy amount. It wasn't like every week or something like that.
Maybe once a month, every other month or something.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
And Mikey would be there? Mikey would go to those?
Mikey would go to a few of them, yep, yeah, and we would see him when we would play at like other places, other people's house and things like that. There was some place in Homewood that we would play. I don't know the names. But anyway, again, like getting back to what we were talking about, joined Hunt Hunt Camp, was a drummer for that forever, got engaged, decided I was going to move to Nashville, fell in love with Nashville, had to tell Joe that I was quitting the band, like borderline crying my eyes out, And then I moved to Nashville, and that's what would start my solo project.
And when was that?
That was 2013 or 14.
And when did you come back? Or
So you're going to enjoy this part. I moved 7 times in 3 states in 1 year.
ouch! Why?
I was chasing jobs, man.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I was trying to be a company man at Whole Foods, and in order to do that at the time, you had to be willing to move.
What's a company man at Whole Foods mean? And what does that entail?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I can't talk about Whole Foods now. It's a totally different place.
Legally or?
No,
Oh.
not,
I was like,
not
what, did you
legally.
sign
Just
something,
like
an NDA?
I wasn't there when Amazon owned it, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I was there pre-Amazon. So anyway, I guess a company man there was just someone that was, like you said earlier, a yes man, just willing to say yes to like, will you do this? Will you do that? Opened hundreds of stores, went to be like support staff, opening hundreds of stores, moved all over. But anyway, moved to Nashville, did that for a while. Love Nashville so much. It's my favorite place. I'll probably move back there at some point. It's the only place that's ever felt like home to me. Really, really weird that I say that, but it's true. Kind of was just that's when I got started my beverage thing. So you might not even know this. So I sold beer for my professional career my whole life.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought you were working for Whole Foods.
No, beer and wine.
Okay.
I sold beer and wine. And then so what would happen was move to Nashville, moved back home to Munster, Indiana this time. So right on the border of Lansing, where I'm from.
Yeah. Isn't that where Three Floyds is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And just going back, I'll throw the music part in here. And so 2017, I released my first solo EP, self-titled. My buddy Mark recorded it in Nashville when I was living at Nashville. I love it, super stoked on it. Actually, the date that I just booked with you, we're going to play songs off that.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So that was really cool because that was the first time that like I was doing everything myself. I never did that before, I did everything except bass. Mark played bass on the record. It sounds so good. Oh my God. Like he did such a great job and he was just getting his kind of home studio started, and I was really stoked about it. I was like super happy with the way it sounded. So anyway, I made that record and it was kind of just like I had those songs for so long. You know how that is. When you have songs for years and then they finally get out there. I'm obviously Joe's like a perfect example of someone that has been doing that for years. But moved back to Munster, opened that Whole Foods in Cherville, Indiana at the time. Then
Deep River Water Park.
Deep River Water Park is
Maryville?
in Maryville.
Okay. Cherville, Maryville.
Yeah, I
Route
love
30.
the Deep River Water Park song though.
Deep River Water Park. Simply splash
I
tastic.
love the synth sound on it. It's like the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles soundtrack. That synth sound. Anyway, I could geek out about that. So moved to Indiana. For the record, I hate Indiana. Why did I ever live there? I can't stand that state. I hate it so much.
The whole state?
No, it's just like so. I don't know if I've talked about this with other people, and I don't know if like they're like this, but like I was raised by my father to like have an animosity towards Indiana.
That's a Chicago suburb in Chicago.
I think that's
thing.
what it is. The
And
drivers,
just
the Hoosiers,
But like any state is going to have definitely more of an ideology than other ones. It's going to have more rural areas than other. But like Illinois is big and very rural besides like the 3 cities in it,
Yeah.
Besides like the couple university towns and then Chicago.
Well, it's like in Lansing and Munster are the same thing. And like here we are like, oh, you Hoosiers, Anyway, so I don't like actually hate Indiana, but like I just like I don't like spending too much time there. Let's just say that.
Right.
So anyway, moved there, did that for a while, went on vacation back to Nashville on a vacation and was like, why did I ever move? Moved back to Nashville. This is when the law changed in grocery stores where you could sell wine. That was a huge deal. So I was the first wine buyer there at the time, at $1 million store. We were doing $1 million in sales a week. So it was a big deal.
Go back.
Yep,
You weren't
the
allowed
law.
to sell wine?
Grocery stores in Tennessee were not allowed to sell anything above 6.2% alcohol. They couldn't even sell
wine,
high-gravity beer. So no wine, no liquor, none of
just
that.
beer, just like
beer.
Miller.
Low-gravity beer, yeah.
I don't even know what that means.
So 6.2 and below.
Gravity. What does gravity have to do with that? though?
Alcohol by volume.
Oh.
I don't know. The laws of Tennessee and Indiana, the liquor laws, insane.
Can't you drink? Can't the
ridiculous things.
passenger
Mhm.
drink an open
Yep.
alcohol container in
So
Tennessee?
if I'm driving a car and I'm literally just chugging a beer and you're in the passenger seat, if I get pulled over, I could hand it to you and just, we're good to go.
well, in Mississippi,
Okay.
either can drink. Anybody can
God.
drink as long as you're under 0.08.
That's horrifying.
It is horrifying.
That is
Not a good
horrifying.
idea.
I don't really want to go to Mississippi, though.
Mississippi,
I'm just kidding. I've never been there.
I stayed the night there once in a casino, and it was wild.
I don't like casinos.
I don't either. It was just really cheap and a
Okay.
place to crash
Nice.
on the way to somewhere else.
For sure. So moved back to Nashville. Again, this is all in 1 year. And then that's when I got the shoulder tap from a regional person that was like, hey, we see like how much you've been doing and like you're doing a good job. You want to come to regional. For a Whole Foods buyer at the time to go to regional, that was like the hugest thing in the world.
You made it.
Yeah. So I had to move to Atlanta, and I told my boss, I was like, I don't want to move to Atlanta, The traffic in Atlanta, oh man, it is ungodly. It is atrocious. So moved to Atlanta, again, playing guitar this whole time. I started posting shitty covers on Facebook. That was a thing. That was like a thing that I did. I was just like learning a million songs and just posting them on Facebook, mostly Radiohead because Radiohead's my favorite band. And then I would moved back to Chicago, quit Whole Foods, actually work for a brewery, selling beer for a living. And same thing, like continuing to play guitar, but at this time, all acoustic. So I put down the electric. I put down like pedals and all the fun stuff because I was like one, I want to learn how to play guitar better. And I wanted to because I just have pedals are too much fun. Like you just like, and I'm doing like really like crazy out there, like echoey and like, like loops. I love looping a lot. So I was just focusing a lot on that, which is like awesome and it's great and it's super fun. But I wanted to be like, no, like I need to just play a guitar. So I sold my whole electric rig. Dumbest thing I've ever done. Why did I do that? So stupid. And I got this acoustic guitar in Nashville named Maria, who you met. And she's an absolute gem and I love her more than anything. And that's when I think this record that would come out started getting written. Was when I was living, I think it started when I was living in Munster. Yeah, that's when I started writing it. That's actually when I wrote the last song, Ghost Gardens. So fast forward to 2020 and we go into quarantine and life is very weird and I have a lot of time on my hands because I'm furloughed from my job. And I decide I'm going to record these songs and I'm going to make this record with one of my best friends, Charlie. And the idea was I wanted, this was the idea in my head. I wanted to sound like Neil Young, but not as suicidal. That's what I told myself that I wanted this record to sound like. No one's brought any kind of Neil Young up thing yet, so I don't know
when
that I
you
did.
mentioned that, I could hear in that one song.
Really? Yeah.
That one. That one now that you mentioned that, I could hear tinges
Okay.
of the timbre of his voice.
Yeah.
In what you're going through, and what you're doing.
So that just came from having time, being in quarantine. One of my best friends, owned a microphone. So the idea was to make a very stripped down record that was how we made music when we were kids. So we made the entire record with one USB vocal microphone, recorded every instrument, separately. I played drums, bass, guitar, vocals, and the one little piano part that's in it. And then there was never supposed to be an electric guitar in that record. And then Charlie was like, because Charlie's a guitar player, was like, hey, like, I did this, like, just listen to it. Everything he showed me sounded so good that I was like, now there's electric guitar on this record.
Yeah.
And honestly, it makes the entire record. But yeah, so that fast forwards to that. Had a really lot of fun doing it. We were just doing it like every other week at his house, at my house, because I got a drum set again, which is my favorite thing in the world. And I'm very thankful that I live in Chicago and get to play the drums at my house, and I don't have to pay someone to play drums. I don't know why bands do that.
Pay people to play drums?
For spaces.
Oh.
To play music.
Probably just not
blows my brain.
Not room at their apartments and stuff.
I mean, I get it, but like, I'm not going to pay you. I'm not going to pay anyone to play music. I'm sorry, I'm just not.
It's just a byproduct of living in an apartment.
Totally true. So very thankful for my landlord.
Yeah.
and my neighbors.
You live in Chicago right now?
Yep. Yeah.
What neighborhood?
Logan Square. Logan
Nice.
Square, Humboldt Park. I'm like right on the border.
What major streets are you near?
So I'm north and major streets. North and Belmont.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
Very familiar with that area. Not too far from the Beat Kitchen.
Yeah. No. Well, the Beat Kitchen's it's a little bit more north. It's like on your like more towards Lakeview.
Isn't it in Belmont? Am I losing my mind?
No, you're right, but it's still like I would say that it's probably from my house. It's probably like a 15-minute drive.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah. It's not super
Am I
close.
losing directions?
No, you're okay. Sub T's way closer to
Really?
my house. Yeah, Wicker Park. Yeah, that's like
Okay.
like a little bit like super close. I would say that's probably the closest venue.
Okay.
Yeah, and been working on music ever since.
Nice.
Yep.
So
Still doing
quarantine kind of helped you get back into.
100,000,000%.
It did that for a lot of bands. I mean, the bands I'm in, we did the same thing. Just hunkered down, practice all the time, nothing else to do. Just getting ready to make new records because there's no shows to be played, no tours to be had,
Right.
and nothing. We just turned our bubble into like the band, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's all we did. Just every week practice, and it's fun.
Right.
And you see, got a lot of progress done. Just so many songs from the 3 different bands we played, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Well, for me, it was like I now feel like I wasted so much time because like when that record came out in 2017, I should have started like doing it like for real, seriously then, but I didn't. I just made a record, you know? So now this is me like, no, like I'm going to keep at it. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to do everything that I can with it.
Yeah.
Everything that I can, I'm going to do.
Good. You should.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been playing music for so long. There's no like time frame, and
No.
I would say that maybe even having all the experience you have now, even like outside of the music world, just life experience, going around the country, doing those other more professional, intense jobs, you know, doing that thing for Whole Foods, puts things in perspective, probably has you have a different appreciation for music that you might not otherwise would have had if you were just only doing music and never had stuff detached from the creative world.
Sure.
You know, that happens a lot with people who do other things that aren't relative to what their true passion is. It really brings you back to it.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you really have it in you, you'll come back to it.
And
It means a lot to you.
I was obsessed with beer. I mean, beer like replaced music.
Interesting.
Like,
What draws you to beer so much?
I mean, it was just like my career, like being a beverage buyer, being a beer buyer, and then actually selling it as my career. You know.
So you know a lot about beer, huh?
I know a decent amount about beer.
I don't know anything about beer.
It's okay.
I'm a extremely passive beer drinker.
But one thing that I think that you'll appreciate is when you move into that realm of being a beer person, people, that's all you are to them. And all they want to do is talk about fucking beer. And I'm like, you know, there's other things that exist in the world that aren't beer, right? And like, even when I like now go to like my old accounts that used to be my accounts, you know, it's like, I just ask about their lives and how they're doing and how's everything going. Like, I don't want to fucking talk to you about beer. Like, and that's a thing that like really kind of took a toll on me after a while, because I did it for 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And I still have a very great appreciation for it, but like now I don't give a fuck about beer.
Really just over it?
I'm totally over it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I used to be like obsessed, but now I'm like, nah, I don't care.
Alcohol it's a very interesting like hobby, passion, career, because the byproduct of alcohol is the alcohol itself and its adverse effects on the body, you know.
Oh, I was 100% a functioning alcoholic.
Well, thanks for being honest.
Totally fine to say that.
I was looking to hear if that was going to be a thing, because I don't like everyone I know who is into the wine, beer, whiskey, when they're like,
I love
like,
wine.
I love these drinks, but you know, when you hear people like, that's what I sell, that's what I do, I'm like, oh no, that probably comes with a toll.
It does. And another thing that was incredibly interesting, and again, like I've had time to like sit with this and think about it a lot, so like I have a different perspective than when I was actually doing it. But friends of mine who were like diehard beer fans, and they're still some of my best friends, and some of my best friends still work in beer. Charlie works in beer. They would like, it becomes such a like crazy like obsessive thing, and like it's like you're in this clique niche. But once I'm like, oh, I don't like want to do that anymore, it's like total outsider now, man.
Really?
Yeah. Well, because it's like we would focus so much of our conversation and our lives around beer things that it's like, well, what the fuck am I going to talk to you about now?
You have nothing in common?
Well, I mean, I guess that, not that we have nothing in common, because, but I would say that it's more like that was kind of the center of a conversation for years.
Yeah.
You know?
That's what...
It's just interesting. It's just an interesting thing that I noticed.
Well, to go back to functioning alcoholic, like when you'd be selling beer, you're just kind of drinking it, and it kind of just becomes part of the job.
Yes, it kind of just becomes part of the job. And again, like there's so many beer people that will have so much to say about this, and maybe even get mad that I said that, but like I don't care. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah, why would you get mad? You have no reason.
Well, because
to lie.
Well, right, but it's just such a weird industry. But yes, drinking beer in copious amounts, 100 million % comes with the territory. They tell you that, like there's no hiding it, you know. But it's like, be an adult and be responsible. Don't be a fucking idiot. That's all it is.
Well, a lot of people are responsible functioning alcoholics.
Right. No, and I was. I was for sure. Yeah. But it still was a thing where I was just like, yeah, I don't need to like continue to drink every fucking day.
Yeah.
You know?
Is there a way around that or do you have to test and try these
No,
beers?
so there's totally a way around it, and I love that you asked that. You can drink non-alcoholic beer, perfect thing. Most bars and restaurants will have a non-alcoholic option. You could do what the OGs have been doing for years. You order soda water and put a lime in it, so they think you're drinking a fucking gin and tonic or whatever. Or you do you order one of your beers, like the brewery that you're selling or what you're trying to push or whatever, and then if it's in a can, you can fill it up with water.
Yeah.
Just fill it up with water.
Tricks.
Or literally just don't drink.
Yeah. Yeah. Which might come with like a weird stigma, like you're selling it, you're hanging out with the client, and then you're just not drinking.
It does.
And they are, and they're like, what are you doing?
And you know what? That is sad.
It is sad.
I think that's very sad that you have to drink, you know?
It is sad.
And especially when we're talking about health, if we bring up health and we're talking about, like, I'm trying to lose weight, I don't need to be drinking beer if I'm trying to lose weight.
It's so hard to lose weight if you're drinking beer.
So hard to lose weight.
It's just pure empty calories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, I have friends who are, like, going through that right now, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's probably not easy for them. Thankfully, now there's not really beer events that are happening, so
Yeah.
they don't have to be seen knocking them back, you know?
It's one of the number one things I hear. I don't hear it a lot from women. Women speak about weight and age and things in a different way. I don't know why. I don't think anybody should, but they do. It's definitely a cultural thing and a social thing. But men, any guy I meet, I was recording a band last night far away in a barn, and they were like, I haven't seen them for 2 years. And
Were
like,
you
oh,
really?
Yeah.
What was happening in the barn?
Live session.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah, I do have
We're gonna
location
do
stuff
that.
too.
We're totally gonna do that. Oh man, I'm excited.
It's
Continue.
fun.
Sorry.
No, and they're like, oh, you lost a bunch of weight. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, another guy did too.
What's
He's
your
like,
secret?
well, yeah. And I told him, he asked, and I was like, fasting, less carbs, like significantly less alcohol. And he's like, yeah, I just cut out drinking and beer. And it's pretty much the same thing. He's like, oh, I lost 30 pounds. I was like, yeah. Every guy I talk to that like loses
beer's
a good amount of weight, not like 5-10 pounds, but like 25, 30, 40, 50 pounds, they always say
I stopped drinking beer.
alcohol, just alcohol.
Alcohol in general.
Cut out alcohol, and then you go down the line of like the things that are extracurricular that just do nothing for you. It starts alcohol, then sweets, then like extra starches and breads and gluten and carbs.
Yeah.
And it just goes down this
I like
line,
carbs
and then you
gluten a lot.
I do too. You just gotta
pasta.
find a way to
Love pasta.
just have it. You have it still. I still eat pizza. I had pizza last night.
Right.
You just have it less.
Totally.
You just do these things less.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, and they're so much better when you do have them.
Yeah.
You're craving
Enjoy it more.
Oh my god,
For
dude!
sure.
Like I haven't had pasta
Pizza,
in forever,
yeah. Mhm.
months. So if I have, fettuccine Alfredo, I'll probably drool. I'll probably cry. I might cry if I have it. It's been ages.
I will make you pasta. I will
Let's
totally
do it.
make you pasta.
I love it, but I love also your chemistry changes once you take these things out. You stop craving them.
Yeah.
You stop looking for it. You don't even really think about it anymore. It's not part of your
No, and that's
your
how I feel.
diet.
That's how I feel about beer. I don't
Yeah.
even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how often do you have it?
So pretty few and far between. So we started playing with two of my friends to gear up for the live demo we're gonna do on DZ Records. And we, that's like we might have a few beers like just as a thing there. So that's. Well, now it's once a week, but like we just started. So like, but I would say before that, not really like at all. You know, I'm way more into wine than I am beer.
One day when it's appropriate, we'll definitely have to have I want to do the cheese or the wine or the beer because
I will get so nerdy.
I'm
like you
super-
with the coffee this morning.
Yeah.
That will be me with the cheese. I'm serious.
I'm into it, but I don't know enough. I just love it as like a snack, a treat. Very fun to just buy a bunch of salami
I'll make
and
you a
cheese.
cheese plate, man. I'll make it
Yes.
look real nice. All that stuff.
What's it called? A cutlery board? No, what's
So-
what's the fancy board called?
Yeah, this is another good one. So charcuterie.
Charcuterie.
So, again, another thing that people don't know, charcuterie means cooked flesh. So charcuterie is referring to this thinly sliced meat. It's not referring to the cheese.
Okay.
But so when someone says a charcuterie plate, typically they do put cheese on it. So people think that that's a cheese plate, but it's not. It's literally referring to the meats that are on the board. But yeah, just a cheese plate.
Do you know the history of like the salami cheese combo and like how it's kind of synonymous with like
I don't.
highbrow snootiness?
I don't know that, but I would just say that people ruin everything for everyone else. I mean, wine's a perfect example. Winos, oh my God! Like there was a section in my career. I was this close to choosing wine and saying goodbye to beer, and I chose beer because of the people.
It's a different type of people.
Blue collar, man.
There's a different type of thing from, like I like Scotch
I don't.
and bourbon. I love Scotch.
I
and
love
bourbon.
bourbon.
I love them
I can't do
both.
the peat. I can't do the smoke. Yeah.
I love it. But like that's a whole nother like world of guys.
Oh, for sure.
And it's a
Scotch
bunch of
people are
older
pretty
guys.
into it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I had a friend, and he poured me some crazy expensive stuff too, and I'm like, I still don't like Scotch. Thank you, though. No, it was like, don't waste your gazillion-dollar a bottle stuff
yeah.
on me.
It's expensive too, and that's another
Oh,
thing. Like the
yeah.
price tag comes with a certain level of money and mentality.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just drinking a couple, like 2 fingers to just have a flavor, and you're not getting drunk, and it's $100 bottle, like what kind of? Clearly, you're in a world where you make a lot of money, and you're just in a different type of world than like the 6-pack that's $6,
Right.
You know, of Coors or
Yeah.
Budweiser, you know. And there's nothing wrong with either one, but I think it's once you start associating with one, and you start to like belittle the other one, that's when it's a problem.
Well, so this is the thing, and another thing that I've learned, that, and this to me goes back to, I would say, more of wine and bourbon. So from this aspect, I'm talking about wine and bourbon. Anyone who actually studies those things and gets into them will know that there's really awesome bourbon and really awesome wine that isn't expensive.
Yeah.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind. Like, watch every wine documentary there is. They'll be like, this is a $10 bottle, and it tastes infinitely more amazing than your $600 bottle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've had a bunch of $9, $10, $12 bottles. The most expensive one I ever had was only like $50. It was good, but was it 5 times better than the $10 one?
Right.
I don't know. I don't
Right.
think so. I have had extremely expensive bourbons by chance, by like a wedding or just in the right place, right time. And they were noticeably different. It's hard to say if it's better, but just different.
Sure.
Different enough to where you're like, I think it hits the air quotes better switches in the brain because it's so different. You're like, what is this new thing?
Yeah.
This doesn't taste like the Bullet Bourbon or the Maker's Mark or the Knob Creek that I have had.
But this is the real question. Would you have thought that if someone didn't tell you what it was before you had it?
No, all I would have thought was this tastes different. I wouldn't know
Sure.
this was $500.
Yeah.
You know, I just would have been like, oh,
Not
this
saying
tastes
that
different.
someone did say that to you, but
No.
I'm just like, I'm asking.
It
you
was
know?
I was in a really cool spot at a really amazing, rare, nice wedding
Cool.
in Dallas, Texas, in this awesome speakeasy.
Right on.
And I went to the bartender. It was just whatever we wanted was free, and I was just like,
Open bar, yeah.
open bar, speakeasy, hidden under this hotel, just awesome. And
Sounds cool.
It
Yeah.
was. I've never experienced anything like it. Probably won't ever again.
Right.
And I was just like, he's like, how may I help you? What would you like? And I said, I'm a little drunk, and I'm just like, I want the most expensive
Oh,
bourbon
God.
you have.
That bartender loved you.
He's like, what do you mean? I was like,
Just whatever the highest price.
just I've never done this. I even told him, I was like, I'm gonna be
Yeah.
honest, I don't do this. I've
What'd
never
you have,
done
like
this.
Pappy 23
I don't
or
know what it
something?
was, but
Oh, you
this
don't know what
guy
it
had to
was?
go grab a ladder. The shelves went up like 15 feet.
Was it Japanese?
No,
No, it
it
wasn't?
was.
Okay.
I don't know what it was, but
The
it
Japanese
was,
stuff's crazy
It was
expensive.
wild tasting, and
Right
it was
on.
very good. And
Cool.
he grabbed this ladder, put it on there, slid it, had wheels on it, went to the top.
He
grabbed
was
this
like Belle
bottle.
from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes,
Yep.
exactly. And he grabbed the bottle. You know, it was like 10% gone. Brings it down, pours it in. I drank it, and I was like, "What in the world? This is bourbon." Like it was on this other level. I was
Cool.
like, "What is this?"
I want to drink it now.
but it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's
Sure.
like I would never buy that. I would never buy that.
Oh, no. Especially not, and you have to realize, like, not at a bar.
No.
Their markup is insane.
No, that
for
glass
rare whiskey.
probably
insane.
like was $50 to $80 for like an ounce, ounce and a half.
It might have been Pappy. That's like the most common one that is
Okay.
about that price point.
Okay, yeah. See, I don't even know anything about it. I saw the opportunity. I had to take it.
Cool.
I even pointed. I was like, I want whatever that is. That
Yeah.
looks wild. You know.
I had an instance like that. So I've had some pretty good bourbon in my life, but I only had one that was like, I'll never get to have this again. And I worked. It was actually a NBA All-Star Game after event.
Where at?
Oh God, what was the name of that place? It was like some downtown upscale
Oh, it was in Chicago.
bar thing. Yeah,
Was it after last year's All-Star game?
yeah, it was after
Okay.
last year's. Yep. And I went, and it was just this after party, but it was curated by Toki whiskey, like Toki Highball, you know? So it was curated by their company. And so they had all these different bars, and each bar had like all this different stuff. So it was really cool, really great thing. And of course, there was like one that was like, it was only 4 seats, and you had to have like a coin, and that's where they poured the crazy, crazy stuff. And this is all Japanese whiskey. This is not American whiskey. And at the end of the event, the like people who ran it came over, and they did this like little like debriefing thing. I thought it was really great. They were like, "What was the best thing that happened? What was the worst thing that happened?" They asked everyone that for the night. But they poured us like their like top shelf like 50-year. You know,
God.
the bottle was black and gold. You know, and I was like, and I remember the girl next to me. She like passed on it, and I was like. Was like, are you out of your mind? Like, you'll never
You
get
gotta
to
take it. You gotta try it.
Well, I was like, give me yours.
Unless you're like literally sober, like you don't drink, which I understand.
Totally.
But if you're just
That's a good point. You're right.
yeah, no, there's definitely people that
So this was probably, if I had to guess, $200 an ounce.
oh boy.
If I had to guess, if that would be my guess.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah,
I digress.
it's the sky is like the limit when it comes to food and
Oh,
alcohol.
yeah.
It just keeps going
you
up.
can buy $1 million bottle of wine. It's the dumbest thing in the world. It's so stupid.
But
And you can
people
buy a
do-
$1 million drum set and $1 million guitar.
People do it.
Yeah.
People have the money. People who have the money to do it will do it. And
You're gonna sell everything to get a '59 Les Paul. I know it.
I don't think I have enough stuff. You'd
You'd have to sell your house.
I have to sell the house,
literally everything.
car, every gear, every ounce.
I
of
think
everything,
they're at like around 200 grand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't have to sell everything.
Average
then.
price.
I have to sell a lot though. Man, yeah, that's too much. I enjoy gear, but like there's a certain price range where I'm just like
We
it
should
doesn't.
totally talk about gear.
You want to talk about
I
gear?
mean, like just a little bit, because we'll get way too crazy.
I mean, what do you want to talk about? I could talk gear. Let's do it.
Let's see. So new thing that came out, just something you should check out. I guess I'll just start there. Universal Audio. I'm sure you know that company. They just released guitar pedals for the first
Interesting.
time ever.
Okay, they're probably amazing then.
Yep.
That company does not mess around.
They do not mess around.
No.
With like everything that they make.
Oh yeah, they're pro-consumer and above by many notches.
Do you have anything by them down there?
I don't. It's too expensive.
Okay. Is it? Yeah. Honestly, like I don't even know. Like because my level in gear, and this is something that you should know about me. I don't know about pro sound.
Yeah.
I could not talk to you about recording equipment. I could not talk to you about microphones. None of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
I know everything else.
Yeah.
I know instrumentation. I don't know pro sound.
Right. It's a whole other world.
I know who Rupert Neve is.
Yeah. I love him. I
Everybody loves him.
sit there and just watch hours and hours of him talking with that accent and the way he explains the math and the electronics, the math of the circuitry of electrical engineering. It makes me want to become an electrical engineer. It's inspiring. This guy, the way he describes how he makes like a equalizer filter.
He's beyond a genius.
Oh,
Like,
he's a very
beyond
smart man.
Insane.
Yeah, he could have been a mathematician at MIT.
He could have been like designing like rockets that go into space.
But that's what you need. You need the best thing about. I was asked recently if I'm like a gearhead while I was talking about gear and creative stuff, and I said I love them both equally because one gets translated through the other, and the other one translates the one, and you kind of need both.
They're
Like,
just tools.
They're tools.
They're just
but
tools.
they're important tools. Like right now,
And they inspire. They're
they
tools that inspire.
Well, we're talking right now.
Totally.
We could be having a conversation with no microphones, but because this gear's here,
Right.
and it's going to be coming through here into a computer.
It sounds
edited,
great.
And it's going to go out through the airwaves, and someone else can hear it on the other side of the planet
Mm-hmm.
through speakers, another piece of gear. Something that could be perceived as a creative art form conversation is now heard somewhere else because of technology. So you need both.
Totally.
So I'm not just one or the other. I love them equally. And so that's why like I nerd out about the gear, the preamps, the mics, the guitars, the pedals, the cables, everything. But then I also love the creative stuff that goes into it.
Right.
Like that information
How
that goes
you
into
use
those
it.
things. How you use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both art forms. It's something I tell my students, something I've learned myself. The first thing I learned in this class at Columbia, Intro to Audio Theory, the professor was like, what's the most important thing in recording? And he was naming everything. He's like, the preamps, the mics, the speakers, the artists, the room, this, and everyone's naming everything, all the mics, this. And he's like, you're all wrong. He's like, it's the space you're in.
I like this guy.
Yeah, he's great. Benj Cantors, great guy.
Cool.
He's like, it's the space you're in. It's acoustic environment because all a microphone is doing, it's not like your ears. It can't pick and choose what it wants into it. It's just taking the information that's stimulating its diaphragm and putting it into a voltage and having it come out somewhere else. That's all it's doing. It can't decide anything. It doesn't have a brain. So the acoustic space you're in is huge. Like this space, I have these cushions everywhere. It's a lot more pleasing, but just having this hard surface here and a little bit more hard surfaces over there, I could still hear the reflection in this room.
Right.
And that's changing the way our voice sounds and how pleasing or calm it might be. They have less reflections, they have more direct sound, because reflections, they start to build up and they start blocking the next scene that comes forward. You know, so you got to be careful with it. And it sounds good in certain situations, like a drum kit.
Right.
When you're recording a drum kit,
It's all about the room. Yeah.
it sounds
Space,
amazing to
yeah.
have an open space and having the decay of a floor tom, a snare, cymbals.
That's how the Led Zeppelin 4, that whole
Oh yeah.
sound.
Do you
came
know
about.
why it works well with drum kits and not everything? It's the transients. They're fast transient that don't carry on. So because of that, they have a quick hit that lasts just milliseconds, not enough to recognize pitch. And then you go on and you have the sound to carry over.
Sure.
When you have something melodic that's going on longer, when you have that first hit on the guitar and then the sound bounces around the room, by the time it comes back, it's now interfering with the next parts of the guitar.
Right.
So you have to be careful with that. You
Sure.
always will get that wash sound, which is, you know, thought of as being a good thing under certain circumstances, but not necessarily always what you want naturally. You want to be able to have control over it. And if you don't have that, you can't work with it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why effects pedals are so nice to be able to have that control. Post-production effects are great to have that control, but if you can find the right space with the right microphones and the right talent, by talent I mean musician, that's all you need. Like you said, you did your record with just, you know, the one mic. And you've been playing music for a while, so I'm just going to go out there and assume you're much better than you were 13 years ago.
Let's hope.
And that's going to translate through the mic. If you were trying to do a one mic awesome recording 15 years ago, it probably wouldn't sound that great.
Right.
Maybe then it would have sounded like great to you because you'd been just so happy you did it.
Totally.
But in hindsight, you'd be like, oh, it doesn't sound that good. You
Yeah.
know? So like you got to a place where you can probably do that now. And a lot of musicians can. You can have a more stripped down, simplified recording because, again, the microphone is just translating what you put into it. So if you have true skill, talent, and experience, it will translate.
Right.
You know, the most important thing after that is the talent. It's like the acoustic space and the person you put on the mic. Everything else after that is just trying to translate that information. So you can get, you know, this mic's a good mic. There's more expensive ones that are better. And that, like these preamps are fine, but there's better ones. But what they're doing is just like 10% of the work compared to my voice in this space. If we were in a big hall doing a podcast, it'd be hard to hear what I'm saying. This gear isn't doing any good.
Right.
When it's like, I can't even hear what he's saying. Everything's reverberating everywhere. You know,
Another thing that I think is really interesting when it comes to that is also when I think about recordings and how good you can get something to sound now that's so stripped down, like insanely stripped down, is like, think about, you know, again, like I don't know what, you know, your rates are versus different studios and this, that, and the other, but like I know friends who are like, oh yeah, like that record cost 25 grand, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
yeah, I would.
Like what?
I'd be set for a bit if I charged someone 25 grand for a record.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. They recorded it at Sun Records, so
Yeah.
that's why it cost 25 grand. But like, I'm just like, how good can something sound? And also think about the people that are listening to it. They don't give a flying fuck
Yeah.
how much it cost, how much the microphone that you used cost. They just want, if they like the way it sounds, they like the way it sounds.
No, yeah, it has nothing to do with
Has
that.
nothing to do with that.
It's all about the name. You're paying, when you go to Electrical Audio to record Steve Albini, you're paying for the name.
Right.
You know, I have friends who've done that, and I heard the recordings, and they're fine and stuff. But that's the problem. I just said they're fine and stuff. That's not what I want to be saying when someone paid $3,000 for one song.
Totally. And I have an interesting thing about Steve Albini that you might appreciate.
What's that?
So the drums on that Hunt on Hunt Camp record, he used them for like one of his like drum software things. There's a YouTube video about it. And he's like talking all about it.
Ear drums?
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's insane.
That's wild.
So random. I remember like Joe told me, and I was like, no. And then like it's literally like there's a YouTube video of him talking about it, and the music's like playing in the background and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so random.
Man. Yeah, no, he's a great engineer.
He's awesome.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love his episode on Parts Unknown with with
Totally. They're at
at the
Riccobeni's
Riccobeni's.
Jagoff. Yeah, they talk about the word Jagoff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Anthony
It's a
Bourdain.
very Chicago thing.
Yeah.
That's where the name Ghost Gardens comes from. Did you know that?
No.
Anthony Bourdain episode.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's the Detroit episode when they're looking at all the quote. I just talked about this yesterday. They're looking at all the ruin porn and stuff, and the guy he's with, who's I think like a TV journalist at the time, was like, yeah, he's like, look at the flowers. He's like, the gardens, the flowers still come up even though the houses aren't there. We call them the ghost gardens. So that was like a very profound thing that hit me like on a different level.
Yeah.
So to me, it means like someone who might have come from like a broken home or came from quote unquote nothing, who kind of like still makes something of themselves, even though like their foundation crumbled. Yeah.
That seems to be a lot of creative people. That seems to be something that happens.
A theme.
A reoccurring theme. I wouldn't say I'm not going to generalize and say it's everyone, but it tends to be a spark with
You got to have darkness in there somewhere, man.
It's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did it come from for you? If you don't mind me asking.
So like for like, I mean, from like the first record, from this new one,
Just
from in general,
as a musician, when you
Oh,
write
man.
and you come from you find these words.
all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, movies, music, people, experiences, things.
Anything in particular in your mind that this branches the ability to conjure up words?
I would
instrument and
say
put it out there.
I would say a feeling, probably somewhat of an emotional feeling towards something. Yeah.
Anything in particular? Like love, heartbreak, depression, drugs.
All of those things except drugs. I don't do drugs,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's not something that would have or that doesn't influence me. I've realized that this is an interesting thing. A lot of my favorite people do drugs. A lot of my favorite writers were opium addicts, and some of the music that I love, of course, acid or LSD was involved, but it's just not, I have no interest in it and never really have. And I'm not the type of person who's like, I'm not going to point a finger at anyone. You do whatever you want. Like if it makes you happy or like you think it's helping you or whatever. Cause I've literally heard artists say like, I couldn't have wrote that if I wasn't on acid at the time. Like how many classic rock people have said that in interviews, and some new people still say that.
Yeah. Well, when you do those drugs, you see what they're talking about.
Sure. Yeah. Opening your mind to things you didn't know were there even.
It sets your mind. Opening is it's an interesting word because
You're like, I don't know if that's the right word.
yeah, when you do those types of drugs, the strong psychedelics, it more or less transposes your mind into a new entity that interfaces with existence.
I mean, it sounds
in
cool.
a whole new way. That's like kind of impossible to explain. Like words, there's nothing that
You just have to do it. Yeah,
it's
for
just,
sure.
It's just think about a new experience you had in life that you're just like, I can't, like the thing you said about Steve Albini. In that moment when you found that out, you're probably like, mind's slightly blown, right? You're just
Yeah,
like,
totally. I'm like, that guy recorded Nirvana. Holy shit.
yeah, Pixies, Nirvana.
Oh my God.
Godspeed,
Pixies.
Black Emperor, PJ
Yes.
Harvey. Yeah.
I didn't know he recorded Godspeed.
Yeah, he did, was it YOX? XO?
That's my favorite record of theirs. That's so funny
he
that I
did theirs.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
That is hilarious.
When you hear that stuff, though, it blows your mind. Now, think about that one moment your mind was blown. Maybe it lasted that deep endorphin rush. My lasted, what, 10 seconds?
Yeah, Euphoria.
Just imagine 12 hours of that. It's weird.
So, another cool thing that you brought up, one of the first Why So Serious songs was called Happiness by the Kilowatt, and it was a response to a Kurt Vonnegut short story called The Eufio Question, and it was about they found a sound that they could make that would make you experience euphoria. It was kind of like the Twilight Zone, and they played it on the radio, and they thought it was 5 minutes, and it was like 5 hours.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's
I
what
wonder
that
what the
song's
sound
about.
was.
I'm sure. I mean, it's a book that we're talking about, but I'm assuming that if I had to
I was
guess,
like, this really happened?
I would say that it was a high pitch frequency or frequency sound.
Theremin, maybe? since it's Twilight Zone?
I don't know. No, it wasn't actually in the Twilight Zone. It was in the Kurt Vonnegut book.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. It reminded me of the Twilight Zone because there's a Twilight Zone episode that's very similar.
It was referenced from. Okay.
And
sense.
also having said that, almost a lot of things that I do, a lot of things are influenced by the Twilight Zone. And Rod Serling.
What do you mean?
So for one of the first Seconds Before Sunrise songs is named after a Twilight Zone episode. The first song as me, like a solo artist writing songs, is actually written about a Twilight Zone episode. It's called Nothing in the Dark. And it's about that episode. So in that episode, it's a woman who's afraid of death, and she just locks herself in a room, and she doesn't want to face the world because she's afraid of literally letting death come in her house as like a person. Like she thinks it's a person. And it's really awesome because this young cop, there's a shootout, and this young cop gets shot, and he's like stumbling down her stairs, and he's like bleeding, and she lets him in and all this stuff, and it's death. And she finds out at the end of the episode that it was him the whole time. Yeah. Oh, Twilight Zone's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's a cool
Rod
show.
Serling, absolutely genius, beyond genius. I mean, I know he didn't write like nearly all the episodes, but it's so incredibly fascinating to
Ahead of
me.
its time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There's an episode about someone falling in love with a computer. You want to talk about ahead of its time?
Yeah, that already happened.
It's
a problem now. How do you feel about that? Do you have any issues with that? Do you find yourself?
You mean like addiction?
No, like looking at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, paying attention too much, having it be an element of your day.
So, yeah. Well, this is an interesting subject. I've recently watched a documentary about it. It's on Netflix. I can't remember the name of it.
It's called I do know. It's called shoot. God, it's on the tip of my
comment
tongue.
what the name is.
You keep talking.
Yeah,
You're
gonna figure it.
The Social Dilemma.
Yeah, that sounds
Okay,
right.
that didn't take long.
No, you're good. I'm terrible, man.
Social
My memory
Dilemma.
is so bad.
I haven't seen it.
You should watch it. It's good.
But I've heard.
It's interesting.
I've heard everything about it, and I want to watch it. Yeah.
So yeah, again, I don't really think about it like I think how people do, in the sense of it's just a thing to me. Like it's not like, oh, I'm doing this too much. I shouldn't be doing this. It's a tool, man. It's totally just a tool, like another tool. And don't get me wrong. I would say that there was, like Instagram specifically, I probably spend way too much time on. Do you
have a timer or anything on it?
No, I don't do any of that stuff. But I would say that now for what I'm trying to do, I'm totally just using it as a marketing tool for everything, because I totally switched my persona on social media as I'm no longer Shaun Burk. I'm NASHU now.
Persona.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one. Do you how do you know if you own it and you're genuine, or if it's is it you?
I love this conversation right now. This is great. So right now I'm developing something with a friend of mine, and they said, I think you should change your handles to NASHU Music. So my handle is NASHU and not you, and I literally just came up with that because it rhymes. And also, just so you know, NASHU is just my name spelled differently. No one ever realizes that.
I was about to ask you, what is that? But you
it's
just
Shaun
it.
spelled differently. That came from a person when I was probably in 8th grade. So I grew up skateboarding my whole life, and we would have our friends decorate our skateboards. The girls would use their nail polish and paint all over our skateboards for art. And she just wrote NASHU across my skateboard. So I actually owe it to her.
That's cool.
I've never told anyone that. So
wow.
Here we go.
Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it comes from her. She just wrote it, and then from then on, it was people kind of turned it into a nickname, and then my one friend started calling me Cashew instead of Nashu. But anyway, that's where it comes from. But as far as this conversation goes, anyway, she said you should change your handle to this and this, that, the other, and I was like, no, because I'm still a person. I'm still me. I'm not just this. I'm not a musician. That's why I haven't changed my accounts my Instagram account to be, you can make it say musician, like, and turn it into a professional account, because I think that there needs to be some like kind of discerning thing of like, it's still me. So to answer your question, like, yeah, because it's me. I am being real. There's nothing that I'm doing that's like fake.
Yeah.
You know, by like any means. Like, I wrote those songs. Like, we're doing this, or like I recorded with you and this, and that, and the other. It's like all things that I'm like excited about doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It is definitely.
But there's probably whole companies like, again, I don't want to bring up like names or anything like that, but I'm just going to use an example. And this isn't true, and I don't know this at all, but I'm just going to use it as an example. I'm sure there might have potentially been a team of people that made Lady Gaga how she is. Like, I don't know that she necessarily like woke up one day and was like, I'm going to dress like Bjork, you know, and like do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. It might have been like a team of managers.
I have no idea.
That was
at that level, there's a lot of variables.
You should do this, you know, and you should say this, and you should act like that. Again, I have no idea. I'm just literally just throwing out a name.
Yeah.
I like Lady Gaga. I like what she does. I like, you know, her views on a lot of things are really awesome. But just, I think about stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, as you said, a level. Like, at what point is someone talking to Beyonce or Taylor Swift and they're like, you can't say that, or like, you have to do this, and it has to look like that.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It definitely can be contrived to have an image, to be a certain way. I don't know. I don't understand it. I don't do it, but you could see it a lot of the times.
You become a business. You're not a person anymore. You're a business. You have to market yourself as a business. That's the best that I can recollect.
Yeah, unless you can find a way to interface the business to where it is just reflecting the person who's doing it. Like, that's what I try to do, you know?
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that those three artists that I just named are doing that. Like, I have respect for all three of those women and everything that they do. Like, I love Beyonce, you know, she's awesome. And like, her music's awesome and her songs are awesome. So I'm sure that there probably is a real thing to them. But, you know, I don't know.
You definitely need a team at that level.
You totally do.
A big team.
A big team.
There's a lot going on. When you're worth hundreds of millions of dollars and you have your name in many places, brands, clothing companies, fashion, concerts.
You probably need a couple hundred people, I would imagine.
Well, when they tour their vans and stuff, they're responsible. They have a team, hundreds of people have a living off of this person, you know? It's a corporation. It's a business. It's a business. It's an entity.
And I think that's an important thing for musicians now that are like trying to do something. They need to realize that it is a business.
It's business. Because
the moment that like they treat it like it's not, I think that something might get, you know, someone might get taken advantage of or something. You know?
It happens. It's the hardest part of branching the DIY mentality to the professional corporation. I'm hovering over all of it, and I never know what to do.
Dude, honestly, like, you probably make fun of me, but I've been doing so much research about this, like, constantly. So my thing is, like, I just play YouTube in the back as I'm working, like on my computer, you know, and I just play it in the back like a podcast, if you will. And it's just so interesting. It's so interesting.
I would make fun of you for that.
Well, just because, like, I think there's definitely a line when it comes to someone like me who comes from 100 million% DIYs and, you know, a love for the music and a love for the people and a love for the experience and the atmosphere to like, oh, hey, maybe one day I'd like to get paid to do this. And maybe even one day I want to do it enough to where I could pay my bills from it and live off of it.
Yeah.
Some people get upset by that.
Who would get upset with that, you think?
Well, I just think that people that would say, like, you're a sellout, like, you're selling out, like, it's not about the music anymore, it's about money. When it's like, no, it's about the music, but money would be cool.
Well, to be honest, being someone that is of that,
you're in business,
though, I have a whole other job just to get by.
100%.
So people who...
I dream of quitting a day job. Dream.
People who would say that, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to go out there and say that.
For sure.
Because I do know what I'm talking about, and I live it. And it's the reason why many DIY places don't last long, because there's no validity in the economic structure of it.
For sure.
You can't be an art school student for 20 years. Like, it ends. And
Totally.
there goes the DIY venue that was all about peace, love, and music.
Yeah.
No, for real. Like, it ends.
You're 100% right.
It ends. Like, how long can you sustain that for with no income? So when you have the income, but when you reinvest it in strictly that art form, that DIY spot, that music festival, that show, upgrading the gear, and keep putting it forward. Like, what I do at ISU is what I used to live. And what I do at these records is just keeps going back into it.
Right.
To keep it to where it can do a podcast.
Sustainability.
Yeah.
100%.
It's the only way it works. How else would it work? When you have a DIY venue at a house in Chicago, how everyone gets the gear is most people just come together and they like put their stuff together.
Right.
I'm substituting that with the money that comes through to just keep doing that, but now I don't need to be asking 100 different people to borrow 100 different things.
Totally.
It's the same outcome.
Yeah.
Happens, you know.
And I think that's something that I think the average person might not realize. It's like making music costs money.
Oh yeah.
It costs money to make records. It costs money to buy guitars, buy all the equipment, let alone record it, let alone pay someone to record it. Then when you release it, you know, assuming that you're not on some record label who's going to pay for everything, which like, do those even exist anymore?
Only probably the top tier ones.
Yeah, the big three. But, you know, it's like I have a friend of mine who recently released a record, you know, and so like a big thing for me is I would love to have a vinyl record of my records because I love vinyl so much. And he recently released one and I was like, man, I really want to do that. Like, how'd you do it? And this, that, and the other. And then like, he tells me, he's like, you know how I'm like doing pre-orders right now? And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm paying for the vinyl that this record company is releasing.
Yeah.
I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
No one knows that.
Yeah. $2,000 for 100 vinyl.
$2,000 for
course.
100 vinyl.
Yeah.
The average person doesn't know that. And then you get people that are like, why is your record $20? Are you kidding?
That's the cost. You're not even making money off of it.
You're not even
You're making your money
money
off your T-shirts.
Yeah.
You know, because those are the ones that can be $5 each. You sell them for 20.
Right.
But the vinyl, unless you're lucky and you got maybe 1,700 and you sell for $25, you might make $8 on it.
But
you know?
I think that this is an interesting topic, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this. So one of the things that I've been running into with all the research that I've been doing is that all music should be free. Music shouldn't cost money anymore.
Says who?
Says business people who are like in the music industry, because there's going to be like, and by that I mean like just like putting it out there, not like you're not going to stop charging for a show or stop selling merchandise or things like that, but just the music itself should be free, so you get like put in every place that you can, and like money's not an object and this, that, and the other. But it's like I mean I can't even, you know, convince my best friends to like buy a record from me. It's like, oh man, like
I'll buy a record from you.
No, I just, you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
say you put 2 years of your life or a year of your life into a record and you're charging $5 or $10 for it. Oh, I'll just listen to it on Spotify. I'll never pay for it.
Lazy, cheap people.
I'll just listen to
That's
it on
all
Spotify.
I'm going to say about
well,
those
there's
people.
a million of them.
Oh, there's a couple hundred
more
million.
than a
Might be
million
a few
of them.
billion. Yeah, it's a problem. Music should not be free. It is people's jobs
100%.
to create something that
Where would we
tens
be?
of millions of people listen to on their way to church, the way home from work, the way to the movie theater.
In church.
In church.
Where would we be without music?
We'd be apes still.
We wouldn't be here.
We'd still be apes.
We'd be 2001: A Space Odyssey, hitting a monolith.
Yeah, we would. Art and music are one of the same. Creativity and expression brings out the elements of us that make us human, that make us have camaraderie. This artwork here, the sculpture there, conversation, music from the basement. These things, we need this graphic design. Like all these things, there's a form of art. Even design itself, the design of this table. Bending Brains mugs. I wish I could have more of them. They're just too expensive.
Oh,
Again,
for sure.
But if I made more money if I had a sponsor, then hey, I'd be handing these out left and right to people.
Yep.
It costs money to record because gear is expensive.
Gear is expensive. It's more expensive now than ever. Oh my God, stuff is so expensive.
It's expensive.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, I remember I used to be able to get a telly for this. Now I'm like looking at them like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You can't touch a nice guitar for under $1,000 these days.
It's very expensive.
Crazy.
And recording is expensive, and it's why a lot of bands are just like, well, let's just pay, $1,000 to go to a studio because to have that same quality is going to cost us $25,000 in gear.
True.
Maybe more.
I would say that that's true.
Yeah, so that's why you're like the home studio thing was a huge jump and leap from like 2005 to like 2014, 13, and that's because the digital technology got good enough to where you could finally start doing it at home.
Totally.
But then enough people started doing it and realizing like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Things don't sound as good as they do in a studio. This gear's expense. It's still like going to cost me thousands of dollars to have something decent. how do I do a drum kit with 8 mics when I have a 2-channel interface? So that adds up, and then people started, all right, let's just go back into studios again, or at least try to find cheaper studios to record at.
Yeah.
Because doing it at home is so, unless you know what you're doing, you're patient, you do the research, and you do the history of it, and you figure it out, it's so expensive and time consuming.
One of the things that I thought too is, and I watched a few documentaries about this too, is like how hard it is for the studios right now, let alone when a pandemic happens and literally no one wants to come in the studio anymore. And I have multiple friends who work at studios. I've had, since I've started relaunching NASHU or whatever, if you will, I've had 2 people like actually like message me and email me and say like, hey, like, will you come record here? Like, we'll give you a discounted rate. That was like mind blowing to me. Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. No, I mean, the rate thing it's hard. I try to be as fair and cheap as possible. And we talked about this,
when I first came, yeah.
And then during the pandemic, I've have to cut it down even more. Right. And I've already been told enough times that it's already too cheap. It's astonishing cheap. But then to get people to come in already on cheap rates, I have to drop another 25%. It's almost like I'm going backwards, starting from where I was 4 or 5 years ago, which is fine. I'm not mad at it because thank God I have other income, but it's not what it could be. I want to keep upgrading gear. I want to get the universal audio preamps, not for a selfish reason, but because I want to have better quality audio for the bands that come in at that fair price, that $100 for a song, instead of $3,000. But it could sound like that $3,000 song because it's going through a universal audio interface, ADD converter with API and Rupert Neve preamps.
We should tag them so they send us some gear.
I tried it once. One time I reached out to Fender to try to see if I can get like a sponsorship. It was so funny because there's like a gazillion Fender guitars down there, right? And I said that, and they got back to me like, oh yeah, we're actually familiar with DZ Records, and it's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but then they just didn't. They just like, I think it's because it's like a DIY thing. They're like, we don't want to be associated with that. It's not like professional enough.
So that's
not a corporation or something.
That's something that I'm doing now.
Huh.
Yeah, and it's just part of. So I was talking about this yesterday. I'm doing a lot of like, I'm not just emailing like the people I think would be obvious for someone who's writing music, like a press thing or like a record company.
Yeah.
I'm emailing a million other people too about other things that I have, like that I want to do and I'm like super excited about, and things that I am actually going to do and that will come out. But that's one of the things that I started doing. And one of another thing that people probably don't know, one of my favorite amp companies that I've dreamed about for years said yes.
What amp company? Or you can't say?
I don't want to say. Yeah, I can, but I just don't want to.
Tell me off mic.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
And then you find out they're not going to give you anything. You still have to pay for it.
They just give you a discount.
They give you a discount.
Yeah.
And it was funny when, and this is the only reason why I say people don't know, when I told my significant other, she was like, oh, aren't they going to pay you? And I was like, this isn't Nike.
Yeah.
I'm not that's not how it works.
Yeah, you gotta be on the top tier to get free stuff and have it paid for, and have it paid for your house. And stuff.
Like Fender is a great example. One of the ones I'm reaching out to. It's like they're not gonna. You have to be on some crazy level for Fender to ever give you a single thing. They'll give you a really great discount.
Yeah, 60% off.
Oh, is that actually what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
not
awesome.
Going to confirm or deny.
Yeah,
that.
For sure. No, that's amazing.
For certain circumstances, sure.
Yeah.
Or they will lend you a guitar. Maybe they'll go on tour.
Yeah. I had a friend who was endorsed by a drum company, and that was the whole bit with them. Was like just wherever he went, they'd have one for him to use. But yeah, that's something that I'm finding very interesting. And recently, oh man, you'll totally enjoy this. I can't like spoil what it is, but something's gonna come out in April that I'm super super excited about, and it has a big, deeper meaning, and it's about something else entirely than just what it is. And part of the thing when I'm reaching out to people is I'm talking about that just so they know, like, because people, companies like to know what you're doing, what you have done, what you're doing, what you're working on, what's going to come. So that's one of the things I mentioned to this. It was a pedal company. I'm not going to name the company.
Can I try to guess?
You'll never guess it.
Okay.
You won't.
Obscure pedal company.
Oh, yeah. And this is the thing. Like the amp company that I mentioned, this is a tiny company. We're not talking about Fender here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about tiny boutique, handmade, stuff.
Are they from Urbana-Champaign?
They're not.
Oh, darn.
So this was one of the companies that I emailed, and the person, the owner, the maker of the pedals, emailed me back like within a half hour, and this thing that I'm working on, that I'm super excited about, he had a political view about, and he was like, I don't want my company involved with anything like that. And my mind like exploded. Like I screenshotted it and I sent it.
What were you?
Well, that will ruin what comes out in April.
Got it.
So I can't.
No, totally.
Off mic, I'll tell you everything.
Got it.
But I was so taken aback by that. I was like, man, here's this guy who owns this pedal company, and he's like, he has like political stances on. It's a song. Okay, there, I said it. It's a song that's going to come out. He has, and what it's about. He has a political stance so much about what this song is about that he refuses to let his gear go, anywhere near an artist because they wrote a song about something.
I guess it depends on what it's about.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to
without
blow your
knowing.
mind when I tell you because it's going to be really weird.
Oh, like you're like shocked that he would say that.
Super shocked.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Insanely shocked.
Right.
And I was just...
Was it like equal rights for men and women?
I'm not going to say what it is, but...
He's just like, I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't understand.
But yeah, man, that was like mind-blowing to me. It's like... and this is another thing. So on Joe's episode, he was like, didn't he say something about no Spotify?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to me, because apparently a lot of people think that like Spotify like ruined music or something, or like there's a problem with them, and I guess it's because they're not paying enough royalties. Because I don't know,
They're not. They should pay more.
It's like what 0.2 cents per 30 seconds.
It varies.
I know it's only 30 seconds. That I know.
It varies from artist to artist. If you're more of a top tier artist, you'll get more.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And it's bogus. It's the algorithms of the playlists. It's hard to get on certain
all
playlists.
about an algorithm. Oh, to get on a playlist is like impossible.
The band I'm in
Good
now,
luck.
currently the lead singer, she's trying to do it and emailing stuff, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
You know?
that's what I'm doing right now too. And then there's companies like Playlist Push that are like, hey, give us $500 and we'll get you on. We'll send it to like 30. They don't have to say yes, but we guarantee that you'll get like on 8 of them. $500 fucking dollars.
Yep, it's all business.
It's all a business.
Spotify, iTunes, these companies should pay their artists more, but the beauty I like of them is the same thing I like from Bandcamp, where you can
Love Bandcamp.
You can stream the music for when you're in the right context for needing to do so. You're having a party, and you have Spotify Premium, and you could stream your 320 kilobyte per second MP3s on a playlist, and everyone can add to the queue, and it makes sense then. But then I also like when you're sitting at home or relaxing, you put on your vinyl. You have you go in your car, you can't play vinyl in the car.
Sure.
And cars don't come with CDs
Different
anymore.
situations, different vibes.
So these things make sense. Should they pay their musicians more? Yes. Should they still exist? I think so. I think there's a great way also to find out about bands. I find out about so many cool bands because of things like Spotify.
100%.
And YouTube, the same thing. It's really cool. But the fact that in order to get more push and get somewhere based on these algorithms that they don't even understand how they work, like YouTube does in Spotify, it's just based on likes, shares.
Interaction, yeah. It's all interaction.
So if you get the likes, the shares, the comments, you'll get more. And I've seen the correlation of the videos I have with the most views have the most comments and the most
Totally.
thumbs ups.
Yep.
and the most shares. And you would say, like, well, doesn't that come with having more people watching? Yes and no. Like, no, it's happening because they're getting them. It's
Totally.
they come together.
It's all about integration. At the end of the day, it's every single app and every single website is keeping you on that website or app as long as you can. That's it. That's all they care about. It's all these companies care about.
Instagram's good at it.
It's time.
They know the shirts I like to buy, and they just keep
TikTok's
showing me them.
really.
And I'm like, stop it.
Well, you got one for free today, so there you go.
There you go.
TikTok, I know, is another one that, you know, everyone's like people are like, yeah, I just started like this and now I like can't put it down. Like I, you know, like it's like drowning me. But the point that I was trying to make and what I was saying was that here's a guy at a pedal company that's saying no because of something that's a song about, and he doesn't want his products associated with that. But what I brought up Spotify and what I'm talking about is why would I not put my music on every single fucking thing that there is? I'm not going to tell someone what to listen to their music on. Like only listen to it on Bandcamp. No, I don't. Listen to your music however you want to listen to it. It's up to you how you want to do it. Like I personally like listening to vinyl records. That's my favorite way of listening to music. Do I love listening to music in my car? Absolutely, because my car speakers sound amazing.
Yeah.
Like it sounds so good, you know? And I use Apple Music. Apple Music's the one that I use. I don't use Spotify. I don't have a Spotify account. I do for my music, but I don't have a personal one. But yeah, I'll never tell someone like, no, like don't listen to it on that. I kind of want to about Amazon Music, but
they're all helpful in their own way. There's many different tools. Like when I had to pick the different platforms for this podcast, I picked all of them. You had to slowly.
I don't even know which ones. I mean,
it's
assuming
on
that
Amazon,
was like Apple and
you have to do
Spotify.
The Amazon ones are interesting because there's like two different ones. You have to do like Amazon Music, and you have to do like Alexa.
Okay.
So that way, if someone goes like, Alexa, put on Bending Brains, it'll do it.
Yeah.
YouTube, iHeartRadio, Pandora, like you have to you have to.
So good.
Thank you. You have to just keep signing up for it. Oh, we can make more.
I totally want more of it.
You have to actually go in and individually put it on everything.
Right. Well, you can get a distributor to do that if you want.
Well, I have the distributor, Podbean, but then once you have it on Podbean, you have to manually choose the other things you want it on.
Totally.
Yeah, if that makes sense. So at least that's the
I use
one I have.
CD Baby for my music.
Okay.
And it's the same thing. You get to a screen and it shows everything it's going on, and you can uncheck if you want.
So it's different from music distribution.
Got
the
it.
podcast through Podbean, you have to manually pick each one and get the code, and it's just different because it's podcasting. But I did all of them, and I could see all the stats. And Spotify is the most.
Oh, that's cool.
It's
it
like
shows
46% of all the
cool.
plays are Spotify. Apple's like 15. Pandora's like a couple. Amazon's a couple. But what I was getting at is something that I really enjoy doing, and I don't know how many other people do this, but I'm putting it out there because I'm encouraging people to do this more. Listen to music on your streaming service when it makes sense to. If you really love music and want to support a musician or artist, go on like their Bandcamp and buy their vinyl. And with that vinyl, almost 100% of the time comes with the download
code,
of the 24-bit WAV files.
Right.
44.1 kilohertz 24-bit WAV files, which is the lossless, uncompressed files. And I've built up a massive portfolio library on my iTunes, and now I put it in my phone. So when I like go in my car, I'm just listening to like bands' WAV files, not streaming anything. So it sounds really nice, much better, much more bass response, much more clear high end, and much more dynamic range between the highs and lows of the amplitude. And I suggest people start trying it because everyone I've shown it to, people roll their eyes. They're like, well, I got Spotify. Why do I need that? I can't tell the difference. When you show someone that in a full range sound system, like what I have in that living room, what you probably have in your car, what I have in my car, people notice it and they go, this does sound better. I'm like, yeah. And you didn't have to pay anything because the waves are free with the vinyl. So just buy the vinyl for $15 to $25.
Right.
Get your waves, download them, put them on. It's these extra steps. Are you a real music enthusiast if you're not doing this? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I am. I could admit that because I do these things and I care a lot, and I have the vinyl library, the WAV file library, and I'm obsessed with these Spotify playlists and sharing it with people and getting new songs from people. Yeah. I love it. I love when someone puts something on and they're like, I hear them like, oh, that's awesome. Can you send it to me? And they could just text me the link, and I take it and I add it to my play. It's really cool to like learn new music.
One of my favorite things that, again, from doing my research, I found out, first and foremost, when you're emailing all the people that I am, never ever attach anything. They will come for your head. They will find you in your home and just murder you. Because I started researching kind of like sync licensing. So getting your music on movies and TV. And so there's specific people called music directors that do that. And the amazing thing is if you just go on LinkedIn and type in music director, you can find them. And they're the ones who literally put music on every single show and every movie that you watch. And if they add you on LinkedIn, you can send them a message, or their emails even there. So anyway, this is how I found that out. I messaged one. I think he was one of the Netflix guys, and he was super nice. And he got back to me, and he's like, "Hey, future reference: never ever attach anything to a music director ever again. You will get blacklisted." And I was like, "Okay." Like, whoa, look out. Anyway, SoundCloud you can do a private streaming link and put whatever you want on there, and it's a private link. And you just send the link. They can click on it. They can listen to it, but it's not posted on your music profile.
So reiterate that for those who are listening.
This is important for musicians. Like, seriously, this is super important.
Yeah.
So what that means is if you're emailing anyone your music, if Ben owns DZ Records, the record company, and I really want to get signed by DZ Records, and I want Ben to put out my vinyl, I'm gonna email him, tell him what's going on, introduce myself, blah, blah, blah. Typically also don't ask for something. That's the worst thing that I think artists do a lot really bad. They ask for things. You're just supposed to say, like, here's my music, like, and like do this, that, and the other. But if I attach something and say you're one of these people that I'm referring to, they're not going to click on it. They're going to delete your email. Also, record companies aren't going to listen to your music anyway, for the record, just so people know. They put the demo submissions on their website so you can put your email in there so you can be on their newsletter. That's why those are there, people. They're not going to listen to it. But yeah, so you go to SoundCloud, you upload your music, and you click private. And then it's private, and it doesn't get posted on the internet. And then you have a link, and it's just like it being on SoundCloud. You can have the record cover, you can have a little about, all the song names, everything. So I created one of those.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh no, I didn't say this. This is what this guy told me.
You're not wrong.
So I stopped doing it.
I'm trying to be as
I got you
polite as possible. You're not wrong. The best thing you can do when sending your music to someone is short and sweet, concise. Because
to the point.
When things were normal, and I'm nobody, but there's people who are way up higher and doing stuff. You get a lot of emails. And the last thing you want to do is read someone's essay.
Right. Life story.
It's nothing personal, but like there's a lot of emails. I got to read other people's emails. I got to look at stuff. And other people do read way more than I ever have to. So you got to be more short, sweet, concise. Yeah, don't ask for anything. Just put it out there.
Don't ask for anything.
Two, 3 sentences.
One of the things I did too was I sent it to my influences, when it was, before the record got released. And one of them's like pretty huge, giant band. And like, they literally liked it and said, thanks for sharing. That was, how cool was that?
It's awesome.
And I literally just said, I'm sharing this with you because you influenced me. You helped influence this record in some degree. That's all I said.
That's all you got to do.
Yep.
Short and sweet, because if it's a bigger band, they get stuff all the time. Like if you're at any level where that's your living, it means you're doing it every day. You don't need to get all that information. The bands don't want to hear all that information.
I don't want to read a long email.
No.
Just as a person.
No. You know what you want to read long things about?
Something you're interested in.
Something you're interested in, or someone you love. Someone you love.
Or someone you love, yeah.
That's pretty much it. If a man or woman, and you're in love with them, they send you something long, you're happy to read it.
I don't even know if that's true.
Oh, I am. I was trying to be real heartfelt, and you're like, nope, I don't even have that part of my heart.
Is there a heart there? No. No. That's a good point, yeah.
Personally, yeah, something you're truly fascinated by.
Handwritten. Oh man, if it's handwritten, I'm reading the fuck out of that.
Well, if it's handwritten, that's extra special.
Yeah.
If someone wrote me like a handwritten long thing, I'd read.
I like noticing stamps people use.
Stamps, the lost art form of mail.
So 2 of my best friends got married, and they sent out their thank yous, and they put in like a picture in each one. And so I'm obsessed with river otters. I don't know if you've noticed like my Instagram stories, but I love river otters. They're probably my favorite animal.
Why is that?
they're just cool. You know, they're little and cool, and they have to touch everything. They have to do this. They have to like, it's like almost like touching is like a form of like they're blind or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they put on the stamp a river otter, and I was like, oh my god.
Did they know, or was it just by
No, they
chance?
totally knew. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like, how personal is that?
No, yeah.
That they knew I was obsessed with otters, and they put an otter on the stamp.
That's amazing.
I love it.
That's one of the best
love
things about a
that.
good gift giver. Mm-hmm. I have noticed, I'm going to generalize here.
He hated the shirt I gave him, guys. Oh my God.
No.
He was disgusted by
I've
it.
noticed, thank you for that, by the way.
Totally.
I love band shirts. I have a very fun collection of band
Cool.
shirts. And
You
I love
use
it.
them to, when people come in and want to wear their shoes like an asshole, you say, throw it on the ground and stomp on it.
What I actually do with them, and this is actually, it could come off as a slight, but I see it as a term of maybe respect, is I don't actually really wear them because I don't want to destroy them, and I save them all and keep them in like perfect shape, and I wrap them up and I stack them all and I put them, I have like many bins of just,
And then you just smell them.
no, like I want to have them when I'm older. I want to like have them for my kids or
That's
my
cool.
life. I want to wear your shirt when I'm 80 and
That's
it still
cool.
looks okay.
I like that.
You know, I think I'm going to rock all the band shirts in my 80s
Yeah.
and just confuse the heck out of people. Like, you're an old man. Who are these bands? Like,
love
this band I
that.
recorded
That's a
60
cool
years ago.
idea.
I don't wear them. They're going to get ruined. They're just going to.
Yeah, but that's clothing. Who cares?
I know, but I like them more than, because they represent something more to me.
Sure.
They represent a memory, an instance,
A person,
a
place,
person,
thing.
a friend I made, a conversation, a podcast. Like, it's not just
Totally.
like all this music I listen to. It's like, it's more than that. That's the best part about recording music, being a part of it from its start to finish, knowing the people. You have a completely different relationship with it.
Yeah.
You know, some of my favorite songs are the songs that I genuinely like. I just so happen to record them, and it just so happens to be coming from a friend that I befriended through the process of recording. And now that song has a whole new meaning to me than just hearing it through Spotify or hearing it with someone you love, which is a whole other way of loving a new song, associating it with a friend or a loved one. But when it's like you were there for it, you're a part of the process, you heard the background story, they opened up to you that night and told you where it came from. Those are the things that I really love about music. And those band shirts represent that to me sometimes.
I like that a lot. And that brings me to like a really cool thing that I love kind of like asking people about. So there's only been, there's been 2 times that I've heard bands that I thought it was a new sound. Only twice in my life have I heard 2 bands that I was like, I've never heard this before, and like was instantly in love and entranced. And then the third one would be something that was so profound to you and meant so much, like as a song or a guitar part or whatever, that you like remember where you were. So I only have 3.
You want to say the 3? You
Sure.
want to talk about it?
Yeah. So the first one, and all like douchery, or not douchery, but just all like me being super fan aside, was Unique Cheek. So we actually had Chris gave us a demo like before their first record even came out. I think it was like one of their early demos, and I was in Park Forest by R. Kelly's house. Not a lot of people know that he has a house in Park Forest, or had a house in Park Forest. And because my sister and brother-in-law lived there at a time, and I even know the intersection that I was at, and I was right next to a White Castle, and Burn My Shadow on the Wall came on, and I just remember being like, "What is this?" Yeah. And then it was it. That was it. That from then on, I was like, super #1 fan ever. Went to every show that I could. Blah blah blah. And then the other 2 are 2 of the, to this day, favorite bands ever. So much influence from the drummer in the one band. But the first one was Sigur Rós, for sure. And I got exposed to them when Talk came out. It's still my favorite record.
It's a great record.
Means thanks in Icelandic. And just the first...
Means thanks, or it means... Does it mean thank you or hello in Polish too? Tak.
I don't know Polish. I know that it's thank you in their language, though.
Tak.
It's thanks. T-A-K-K.
Hi? I think. Anyway, sorry.
Or maybe it's T-A-A-K? No, it's
T-A-K-K.
T-A-K-K. Yeah,
2 Ks.
2 Ks.
Yeah.
No
No one does.
3.
There's only one
There's
thing that does 3
definitely
Ks
not
out there.
3,
We're
yeah,
not
we're
gonna,
not going to talk about that. not going to talk about Donald Trump. Fucking Klansman.
Oh boy.
Anyway, so yeah, and it was literally, so the opening track on that record is an interlude. It's just a looped interlude. That exploded my brain, and I was like, what the fuck is this? I never heard that sound before. I never at that time, and this was right when the record came out, 2008. Is that right? 2007.
Something like that.
And that record came out, and we went and saw them. They played at the Civic Opera House. Incredible, amazing show. Absolutely beautiful. The acoustics, the sound. You go to another world when you see Sigur Rós. You're on another planet. Your brain.
Yeah.
It's like a drug, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
There's
been many experiences when it feels like you're on a drug, and
totally.
there's probably been probably 10 in my life, a musical concert where
I've had way less than 10.
Oh yeah,
I've had probably under 5. My Bloody Valentine was one for sure.
at the Aragon Ballroom.
I saw them
in November 2013.
Thank you, Joey Seeger. He had a ticket, and it was totally sold out. And he said, "Hey, I've seen them multiple times. Don't you really want this ticket?" And I bought it immediately, and I went by myself.
We should have went together. I went with a bunch of friends. But
how much did you love the drummer missing the cue in the last song, and Deb Googe being really mad and throwing her bass down and storming off stage? You didn't notice?
I kind of remember that. I mean, it was almost 8 years ago.
Oh my God.
I just remember crying when I saw them.
Song.
It was amazing.
Wall of Sound. Phil Spector, man.
I just love
My Bloody Valentine.
The amps Kevin Shields' amps were so much that he had to tilt them off Access.
Did you watch that Fender thing he did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was really cool.
No, yeah, they opened up with Sometimes, and I almost lost my mind. I was just like, this is happening, huh?
Totally. I never in my life thought I would see them. And we probably will never see them again, let's be honest.
Maybe not. Yeah.
Maybe not.
No, yeah, that was epic.
And totally. And then the next one is still one of my favorite bands ever, and the drummer influences me so much, and it's Battles.
Battles, nice.
Yeah,
Battles is awesome. High-Low.
Oh, man.
I love that.
So and that's another band that I listened to them from the start, like when they had their EPs before Mirrored came out.
Yeah.
And which High-Low is on the EPs.
That's the EP I love. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what is it? SRZ. That's my favorite song.
I don't know.
SZR. I can't remember because remember they were all just letters.
Yeah.
The song names. But anyway, so it was Mirrored, and Race In, man, what an incredible song. And forget about a drummer. John Steneer, Helmet, Tomahawk.
I mean, Battles is definitely an interesting band. You're like,
insane.
I don't really heard anything like this before.
I never heard anything like it. That's what I'm talking about.
I know exactly.
And then you come to realize, and you start to hear their other records, huge Japanese influence.
No, that's probably why in this Western world we're probably missing out on some of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, you can only extrapolate so much from nothing. You're going to be getting it from other concepts that were before you,
Mm-hmm.
And
everything's been done before.
In some way, shape, or form, you're just taking elements of it. And like, I remember a band, there's a riff of Owls, the band Owls.
I know the name.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember. I remember that band.
Kinsella, one of the Kinsellas, all the Kinsellas.
He came to one of our shows once.
Yeah?
I think I told you about that. Yeah, he came to a Richard Duff show, and we almost started crying. We're like, we can't play. The guy from, was it American Football, right?
American Football,
yeah, the guy from American
Believe.
Football's here. Ghost and Vodka. I love Ghost and Vodka so much. Oh my God, that record's so good.
A lot of cool stuff that came from those bands and that group.
Oh, they were like our heroes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were like the generation before, the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, so Owls was one of those projects.
Yeah, Owls was one of those projects, and there's this guitar riff. It's a guitar riff I've never heard before.
I want to hear it right now so bad. You're going to play it for me after this.
We fall into patterns too quickly. We fall into patterns too quickly. And it's like in this weird 10 or 11 4 time signature. And the guitar, there's this break. The guitar does something. And I'm like, I don't know what it is. I still to this day, I'm like, it's one of the most
wait to hear it.
Impressive guitar riffs I've ever heard. It's very subtle, but it follows nothing. It follows no structure, really. It just goes everywhere. And you're like, oh, yeah, this is what I like. This is what I want to hear. And it's just unique chic. Oh, man.
Cheek. Joe would get mad at you for saying chic.
I know, I say chic. It's a habit, but it's cheek.
But what you just said of no structure reminds me of one of the greatest songs ever written, that people don't realize the science behind, which is videotape by Radiohead. Do you know about this? How it's not in it? It's like not in a time structure.
Yeah, I saw
Everyone's
even
like,
a video.
it's in 4/4. No, it's not.
I saw a video of Tom York having a hard time even starting it.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he doesn't know, he can't figure out how to get into it. Johnny Greenwood or someone's playing, and he's just like, he keeps laughing like you have to restart because he can't like figure out where to go.
Where to go in, yeah.
Yeah.
I did a cover of it on a guitar. That was fun. It was really hard. It was really hard because, I tried to be another huge influence as far as this goes is Joe. He does this thing where he plays guitars and he does a drum beat on his guitar. Joe's been doing that like
literally he had that
forever.
drum machine built on that guitar.
Yeah,
right?
he's got a content mic on his pickguard. What I did was when I was covering it, I did for when the drums come in videotape, it's like the greatest thing in the world. It's like mind-blowingly so awesome. And he's literally just playing like something that would be on a drum machine, but he's playing it on drums. It's like he's actually playing that on the drums. People like think that's a drum machine. Like no, like he's literally playing that. Anyway, so what I would do is like I was playing I was playing the chords, and then I would hit the pick on the guitar to make the, because you know how that song goes, and it's like, and that starts happening. So I was doing that and playing the chords and hitting just the pick, hitting the pick guard. It was a lot of fun. It was really hard.
That's cool.
It was really hard
It's an
to
interesting
do.
cover.
Yeah, it was
good
just
song.
one of my shitty covers that I did. Again, Facebook videos, really stupid. They'll never become anything.
There's so much of them. So many people do that. It's just every day. And quarantine pushed that even further. Just videos every day from many musicians.
I definitely want to go more into that, the video realm, and I'm already like, I have so many ideas for you just telling me that you'll do outside recording. Oh man, I've had one, something I've wanted to do for years that I would love to do with you.
You want to say where it's
interested.
at or no?
Yeah, sure. It's one of the most amazing, creepy places I've ever been in my life. And it's a monastery, and it's in Munster, Indiana. It's called the Carmelite Shrine. If you're into any kind of like Gothic architecture, if you listen to death metal and you like Norwegian death metal, you'd be right at home at this place. I love metal, by the way. Huge metal fan. But anyway, it's just a really creepy place. Me and my friends used to...
Outside?
It's outside. Yep. Me and my
Abandoned?
friends...
Like you can just
No. There's monks living there.
Oh.
Yeah, they do the chanting inside
You're allowed
the
to
church.
record there?
No, but we're going to do it anyway.
Oh, we probably shouldn't have recorded that illegal act, whatever.
Right.
No one's going to care.
But no, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, we could either just do it and hope we don't get kicked out, or like I could just ask them. I'm totally fine.
You just ask them. I also have like a good Zoom H6, which I could plug in like the AKG 414 condenser mics, and it's pretty good preamp out of that. It's mobile, so it's battery, so we can go in and out quickly anywhere.
So yeah, this place is like just a creepy graveyard, shrine, religious statues all over. It's so creepy, but it's beautiful. Architecture's beautiful. No one even knows it's there.
Yeah, I never heard of it.
No one knows because it's like, so it's like up a hill and then there's like all these trees. You wouldn't know it's there from the road. It's absolutely gorgeous. And you're allowed to go in and walk around it, like, during the day and everything. Me and my friends just used to go at night because it was just so much more creepy. But I've wanted to do that forever.
We could do it.
I would love
Single
to do
camera.
that. Yeah, just like a live thing.
And a
like,
gimbal. Just steady cam walking around.
Don't want to get too crazy. We're not going to do your little beach scene and bring a bunch of amps and steal some electricity from the monks. But probably acoustic, I would say, would be easier for us.
Yeah, that was something. Yeah.
Dude, it's so cool.
Thank
That's so
you.
great that you did that.
It was fun, but
A lot of work.
not just a lot of work, but the sand. For those who don't know, sand is
Unforgiving.
the worst thing you can get in your gear. It will short the gear out. It is a conductor.
Oh, I didn't
It's
even think about that.
small pieces of rock that can conduct electricity. It will ruin things, and it will ruin things badly. And water is just as bad, if not worse. So when you're at a beach with water, sand, and wind, it's delicate and very specific. Everything to do. It's a very calculated thing. But it was so much fun.
Did you? I didn't notice. Did you guys put tarps down and stuff?
No, so
For the amps?
the amps were on just 2 pieces of driftwood.
Okay.
A little amp. Vox AC4, 2 pieces of driftwood.
Oh yeah, that's the baby
Princeton,
box, right?
68 Princeton.
Cool.
And then my bass, I was just into a DI. And then the synth was into a DI, stereo DI, and then the drums were mic'd, and then the vocals, SM7. These very mics, these are the mics we used, like
Cool.
these exact two.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it was so much fun, but so much work. And the extension cord went down 400 feet from the cottage through the forest.
400 feet.
400 feet of 10 gauge extension cord. It's the same stuff
You
I
gotta
bury
hope some
under
dog's
the.
not chewing on it.
Yeah, well, thank God it's some thick, heavy duty stuff for like it's what we bury under for DZ Fest. That's
For sure.
like how we get the stage to the house.
Got it.
That's the same stuff. So I knew it was going to happen. I was aware and how to handle it and deal with the power and everything. And it was just funny because it's an obscure and rare thing to be doing. So most people are kind of like, wait, how you going to do that? I'm like, it's fine. Like, we got all the gear. We just got to do it. Like, I can imagine how we can do it. And we're just going to do it. And the audio went to the tent, hidden behind the tree. And then I buried the snake where all the mics went into.
Right.
We had headphone. Yeah, to be on the beach and just listening to the water crashing through the condenser microphones where the drum kit's 20 feet from the water, and you're just sitting there waiting for the videographer to come down, and you're just listening to the waves in stereo high end, and you're just
Keep
like,
that sound, man.
it's wild. I
Totally
remember
keep
just
that
sitting there
sound.
like,
Sample it.
yeah, no, it's beautiful. It was
Yeah.
so beautiful. And I think we're going to try to do something like that again next year, but my ultimate goal with doing on location stuff is to try to do it around the whole world and like record bands from every country, like go on location places.
Cool.
Yeah.
Did you see that Audio Tree just announced that they're going to other cities now?
Oh, no.
Yeah, they're doing Nashville, I know, is one of them.
So they're going to be an audio tree in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, I think so. And I think New York's the other one.
Wow. That's awesome. And they're big.
Yeah, I'm trying to get someone to respond to an email over there. we'll
They're
see
big.
if it happens.
It's interesting because I know so many bands that have played there, and I know so many of the hosts, like so many people who have been hosting and talking there. But like, yeah, I've never been, and
neither have I.
I don't know much about it.
I've had
beyond
friends that play that that have played, but that's
Right.
all. That's all that I have.
Oh yeah, no, it's popular. It's not as popular as like KXP, but it's way up there. You know, KXP is like the most popular video session there is. You know.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. I never thought about it. Did you see the recent Send Morimoto one?
Yeah,
It was awesome.
it was cool.
Yeah.
I was very much trying to figure out how they did it on the
I was
technical
too.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, are they just plugging in the audio? Because this isn't like actually him singing right now, but like I think it was.
You know, the only thing I could think of, there's a couple different ways to do it. One of them would be very, very expensive, tricky. We need a ton of gear to actually send all that audio
Right.
over the airwaves in real time.
Yeah,
to
the
where everyone
audio
play
had
together.
to be pre-recorded.
What it could be is everyone did their section filmed, and then they lined it up,
I
which is
got you.
totally possible.
That's
doable.
also probably gnarly.
Yeah,
to
it's hard to do.
Yeah,
it's
that
hard to do,
would
but
be
it's
easy
definitely
to do.
possible. And I know like Jake Carlson, who I'm sure you know, filmed it.
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? It's
No.
Mikey's cousin. He films like all the videos for like Nnamdi and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds familiar.
Yeah.
I've probably
He's a
met
cool
him
guy.
before.
Met him. He's been here a handful of times. Very
Right on.
nice person. Very cool. Very talented. Makes really cool music videos.
Cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It's been so cool to see all the different creative ways people have been doing
Mm-hmm.
videos and live videos, and even if they're not live, just like the production ideas behind it still deserves an applause, because you got to be creative right now.
Yeah.
There's only so much we can do.
So this Friday, I'm starting my live thing on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
just doing live stuff on.
Yep. Instagram live every Friday at 7 p.m. in February.
Cool.
So the 4 Fridays.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Is it you calling it anything, or just that's
NASHU at home.
NASHU at home?
Yeah.
NASHU in the house.
Yeah. Whatever.
And you said you live in Wicker
It's Logan. Yeah.
Logan.
Logan Bolt. It's on the border of Humboldt Park.
apartment,
Yeah. It's a house-ish apartment, type of thing.
roommates.
Just the girlfriend.
Nice.
Yep. And I'm trying to figure out right now how to do it in a way that isn't fucking lame. You know what I mean? And I just don't have cool things. So
Like cool things. What do you mean by cool things?
just like any way that's gonna distract people from realizing it's just me playing guitar and singing. Just like anything. Artwork for sure. Yeah. I mean, I've thought like about a bunch of things. Like a projector would be great. Like a projector would be really awesome. I don't have a projector. Again, what am I going to do without a lot? You know what I mean? That's kind of the goal. And something that I'm really going to try too is like get like the lighting right. I want to I like lights and like different color lights. I think that's cool. But yeah, that's something that I'm trying to figure out right now because the first one's this Friday. So
Yeah, it's coming up.
I have a couple days.
2 days.
But yeah, that's something. I saw one the other day that Chicago legend Bruce Lamont did. Bruce Lamont plays in a bunch of bands, but my favorite band that he's in is called Brain Tentacles. And it's the drummer from Municipal Waste, who's like one of the greatest drummers ever. Super awesome band. He plays a lot of saxophone, and he like puts like crazy effects on a saxophone. Sounds so awesome. But he just did one, and it was very more professional. Like he had amps and mics and all that stuff. But like I'm not gonna go to that level.
I mean, are you doing just acoustic and voice?
So I'm gonna do acoustic and voice for the first two, and then the second two I'm gonna do electric. Yep. So
Yeah, I mean, I
I'm
would
gonna
say
borrow a rig.
as long as you're doing acoustic and voice, you don't really need to mic anything. I mean, that's so natural and real feeling and visceral that people
Right.
know. Like, and also the audio on phones are pretty good now.
Yeah, well,
know?
that's what I was thinking too, because I was just like, well, it's not like it's live, on Instagram, so there's not like really a way that I could do any kind of like pre-thing and put it on there because it's live. Like you can't. But yeah, I've seen a few that have come out, and I was just like, yeah, why not? I can't go on tour, so I can go on tour at my house.
I regret never going on tour.
I only went the one time.
You want to go again when things are normal?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? So you're born December
89.
19th, 89. I'm
yep.
December 14th, 89.
Oh, there we go. Sagittarius.
Stradivarius.
Stradivarius, yes.
You're, when is the cutoff? Is it December 21st?
Oh, it's very close to mine because I had a friend the other day that was like, "You're a Capricorn," and I'm like, "No, I'm Sagittarius." I don't know what the cutoff is.
I don't know anything about astrology. I find it fascinating, but I know
My
very
girlfriend's
little.
really into it. Yeah, I know. Well, I actually know a lot of people that are very into it, and they swear by it. They think it's everything. And it's some of it is interesting to me.
Yeah.
But some of it, I'm just like, well, that's just a person who wrote about themselves.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough to even go beyond saying like I don't find it to be a genuine objective science, but I find it to be very fascinating and have a lot of information you can extrapolate from it from thousands of years of people putting things into it,
Yeah.
I find it to be very fascinating, but I can't go as far to be like is to take it word for word,
Right.
But I'm definitely intrigued. I don't turn anything away like that. I know like, okay, well, I'm not going to fully bite into that, but it is fascinating. And I hear more and more about it now than ever.
Yeah.
Growing up, never
people's
heard about it.
People got time. No. That brings up a good thing that we could talk about is how much people are paying attention to things they never paid attention to before, like politics in our country and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Or just not talk about it. But yeah, it's been interesting to take note of that, how much people are kind of paying attention or talking about or posting about things that never ever seen or heard them talk about ever before. And I think that part of it is the time.
Time, boredom,
Yeah.
frustration.
Being alone. I don't like a lot of people aren't alone, And I think that especially with like social media, like you're so concerned about other people and what they're doing and how to look and all that stuff when it's like, what was the last time you just like sat and thought?
Every morning.
Do you?
Every morning, yeah.
I love it. You're a walker, right? Isn't that a thing?
I'm going on a 5 mile right after this to the
man.
forest, a hike, yeah.
Can I join you?
If you want to.
Like I might be in.
Yeah.
I need to exercise.
You got the shoes for it?
I got boots on. I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
If you want to.
I kind of want to.
Yeah. If you want to go and my buddy Zach and I, we do it every day together.
You do it every day? That's awesome.
Every day.
I need to do that, and I live right by Humboldt Park.
Do it.
Dude, I totally need to do it.
I'll tell you this right now.
And I like being outside. I love being outside.
And the temperature is not a factor. I got
don't
the
care about
funniest
temperature.
gear. Like I just ordered all the right gear to be able
Do you
to
look
walk
like a cool
through blizzard.
dad?
I look like I should be snowing in Aspen.
That's cool.
Snowboarding in Aspen.
I got a good hat. I got a cool hat you would enjoy.
It's
I didn't wear it though.
during that blizzard we had the other day. We walked 5 miles like in the thick of it. I didn't see anybody.
How long does 5 miles take? Just out of curiosity.
It depends. We hit our high the other week at a 13:52 pace, which is insanely fast for
I don't
walking.
know what that means.
Some people walk at like 11, 12, or run at like 11, 12 minutes, and we walked at 13 minutes and 52 seconds per mile, which is very fast considering we're doing hills and uneven terrain and stuff. but I've been doing this for 8 months now.
Cool. That's
so like,
great.
But like when I bring people who haven't done it, you could see the difference. You'd be like, "What? It's just walking." It's like you don't understand. How often are you walking 5 miles through the forest on hills with snow
for sure.
and ice?
Yeah, I've gone hiking several times, but yeah, for
It's a whole other ball game.
For someone who definitely like sits at home on a computer every day, it's gonna be a little bit of a thing.
But it's a you'll feel sore. It's good, but like it's good for your joints because you're not gonna your bones and joints aren't gonna hurt. It's just your muscles and your legs because they're just being worked because it's not high impact and it's very very subtle and we're designed for this. And the biggest way that I lost weight when people are like, "Oh, how'd you lose all this weight?" And it's like, all I did was walk and just eat better. Like I didn't do anything else.
Honestly,
didn't
like,
go to the gym or anything.
I
Just
think
walked and ate better.
That's just a huge thing that people miss is that like, yeah, you can't just do that.
I highly recommend it.
Kind of do it. Yeah, I'm trying to do it.
Start
right
off
now.
small. Start off like 1 mile a day. Do that for a week, then 2.
Yeah, and
then 3.
that's the thing that's nice about Humboldt Park too, is because it's like it goes around the whole thing. So like you could just do the whole lap or
just
whatever.
walk anywhere. And there are definitely differences between concrete, grass, and forest. Be wary of concrete. Make sure you have the right shoes.
Yeah, I do have really nice running shoes actually, which I feel like would be the best option for that.
Get really nice shoes. I recommend inserts. If you're gonna do concrete, you will notice a difference. You do it once.
I could walk in the grass, I guess, if I wanted to.
Yes, recommend that.
You
if
do
you
recommend
can stay
that?
in the
Okay.
grass, when it's not wet and rainy and snowy, so pretty much from May till November, I walked in the grass. I just walked in the grass next to the sidewalk.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Next to the road.
You could totally
stayed in the
do that.
grass, and the perk of it is the grass is uneven.
Right.
So when you're doing walking, you're
Better for your feet.
Yeah,
or
it's
something,
better.
or your
Well,
back.
you're getting you're getting your muscles more activated because they have to try to keep balance.
Got it.
So it's less impact on your body and joints, and better for you'll be a little bit more sore, but it's better for your muscles forcing them to have to counteract rolling an ankle and stuff.
Totally.
So you have to you're forcing yourself walking on this uneven terrain. Concrete is nice.
I grew up
It's
skateboarding.
flat,
I've rolled
but
my
then it's
ankles
bad
so
on the
many times.
impact,
Yeah.
So as a pro, you get to be flat. You don't have to worry about like rolling ankles and stuff, but it's more on the heels all the way up. You feel it goes through the whole body.
Right.
And yeah, it sounds so easy. Like I don't understand. It's just walking. It's like you don't understand. Like it's a lot of walking.
Oh, yeah,
walking
for sure.
130 miles every month. It adds up on the body, but you just got to be just careful. Very subtle stuff. Wear the right shoes. If you're going to the forest, wear really nice boots.
Yeah.
Because you will roll your ankle walking in snow on tracks in the forest without being able to see what's really underneath.
Yeah, I forgot about the snow. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
The snow's nice at a certain level. Like we did a walk in the forest a couple days ago when there was a lot of snow, but it was the right amount of snow where it was like 4 to 6 inches. So it's enough impact. So it feels like you're walking on clouds.
Sure.
But there's a little bit more resistance because you have to pull out of it and go to the next one and pull out of it. So when
More
the snow
strenuous.
is too much, like 10 inches, like what we got a couple days ago, impossible to walk. You're destroyed because you're going too far and then to pull way out of the snow and go back down.
Yeah,
So
like
you want a
quicksand or
good,
something.
you want a good balance of just like 2-3 inches of snow.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's fun. I like it. Conversations. It's
Oh, yeah.
meditative. When I'm alone, I listen to music or a podcast where I just take in the fresh air.
I used to do it when I lived in Orland Park. I would ride. It was my bike. I just ride my bike for I think I did 10 miles at a time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
10 miles each ride. And that was nice. Without any headphones. That's another thing that I think is interesting too, that I think people can miss is you don't always have to have something in your ears.
No.
Or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could just be doing it.
You could just be doing it.
Skateboarding for me is a huge, I love the sound of skateboarding. And I still skateboard, and it's when I skate, I could have headphones in, but I don't,
You've been skateboarding your whole life?
Pretty much, yeah, man. Since I don't even know when. When I was a kid, I messed around with it a little bit, but I got serious probably 7th grade. Yeah, that was another thing I lived for, man. We were obsessed. All we did, day and night, skateboard.
How many busted ankles you got there?
I've rolled my ankle probably 100 times. I've never broke it. I've never broke any bones in my body.
Oh, okay.
Very thankfully.
Interesting.
Maybe
Most skateboarders do.
Maybe my toe. I might have broken my toe before, possibly, and just didn't know it because you can't really do anything.
Can't really do much about a broken toe, yeah. Unless it's really bad. But if it's just a fracture, a splint, just a slight crack in the bone,
Yeah.
versus literally breaking it apart from the bone,
Right.
and different types of breaks.
I did have one pretty big scare though at Frankfurt Skate Park, which made me stop doing big stuff because I didn't have health insurance. and I was like going to skate this 8 stair, and I almost like I slipped out and just smacked my elbow on concrete like as hard as I could, and like I don't know how it didn't shatter, but it didn't, and I just remember thinking like that would have been $60,000 hospital bill.
Yeah.
I love the country we live in. You
Yeah.
know? I remember being like really scared about that, so I stopped doing big stairs and handrails and all that stuff. Now I'm just more so like I like mini ramps a lot. That's just like a tiny half pipe, usually like 5 feet high, and then just like everything else that's like on the ground.
Yeah, you kept it to where if you get hurt, it's subtle. It's like
yeah.
a rolled ankle.
You could still totally break a bone, like for sure, but like
can't.
I'm talking about like I should have probably shattered that elbow like in pieces.
Yeah.
But thankfully I didn't.
Right.
I mean, I even had like kids come up to me at the skate park and were like, dude, that was like it looked really bad. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, and I think that was when I don't know, that was like probably like 5 years ago or something. But yeah, I like doing it. It's fun. It's another thing, like skateboarding, like music is one of those things where there's no age group, there's no all people.
No rules,
There's
really.
no rules. Anyone can do it from any type of person. Doesn't matter who you are, what you're into, what kind of music you like. And you're usually like pretty respectful of each other. Skateboarders get a bad rap, but yeah.
They do. They're always associated with like graffiti, punk, like pot
Which are
smoking.
things I love. I love punk and graffiti.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a correlation. There's definitely a lot of
Punk for sure. Yeah,
punk
totally.
for sure. Yeah. What do you think it is about like punk and skateboarding?
Oh, the music for sure. I mean, like, Minor Threat. Like those guys all usually had skateboards in their photos. I would say Minor Threat was like probably one of the big.
But like,
first
I wonder
ones.
what it is though. Like, why do they go
It's fast
hand in
music?
hand? Fast,
You're going
aggressive,
fast on
anger.
a skateboard.
You know you're gonna get hurt, and you're okay with it.
Yeah. Oh, actually, have you seen mid '90s?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I loved it. Jonah Hill's
Oh my
film,
god,
yeah.
made me cry.
Yeah, it was good.
Hit a little bit too close to home for me.
I bet.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For like how I grew up. But yeah, I was like, so I remember when he was making it, so I follow a bunch of skateboarders. I always have, and I remember like the kind of vibe of the skateboarding community was like, is this like dude gonna like this poser's gonna make a movie and like do it wrong? But like when it came out and some pro skateboarders went to the first screening of it because he invited them, they were like, he nailed it. Like everyone, like Tony Hawk even was like, yeah, I couldn't believe how good it was. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it, but it's sad as fuck.
It's sad.
It's super sad.
It's sad, but that's he's got a lot of experience and he's a good director. And a good director doesn't have to have the experience in that world to be able to translate it. What they know how to do well is take information and have it manifest to where
Or find people who do.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They take the
That's what you're saying.
information
Yeah,
from
yeah.
people they do, professionals, other producers, and they figure out the best way to put it all together. That's what makes a good director, a good filmmaker, a good music producer. You might not be the one writing the music, but you have the ideas and know where to extrapolate things and have it come together.
Like I don't want to, do a live cool monk shrine thing on my cell phone.
Yeah.
I mean I could. Obviously totally could do that.
Sure.
It would be super easy.
Yeah.
But it's like, I want it to look a little bit better than that.
Look and sound
hopefully
different.
hopefully sound better.
Yeah.
But another thing I was thinking about was that music store that you told me about. I was thinking about popping in there.
Oh, Hidden Music?
I don't know if is it open today?
Yeah,
Because
it
I
is.
remember the last time I was here, you're like, oh, they're not
It's
open today.
You should go there. It's awesome.
Totally gonna do that
And it's
too.
open now. Like,
Cool.
when you go there, tell John I said hello.
And then one of the other things that do you know about my collabs? Did I talk to you about that?
Your what?
Collaborations.
Oh, no.
So I started doing collabs. So I service industry worker, like restaurants, bars, restaurants. I have been for years, and I started doing collabs with bars and restaurants to help out of work service industry employees in need, but also like independent musicians and independent music venues. So basically, like the idea is to collaborate on a dish or a cocktail, and then release it, and proceeds from that go to certain local organizations. So that's something that I started doing that I'm like super stoked on. I've done 3 so far, and they've gone really well. I did one with Pleasant House Pub. We did a British pie, and I paired it with a cocktail, and it was so good. It was awesome. They nailed it. And then another one I did was with Demon Tap. We did a cocktail, and it was my recipe. It was a tiki cocktail.
Yeah.
I love tiki drinks. And
I
then,
don't know if I've ever had one.
oh man. Well, you're like you don't like drink, right? Or
Not
like,
really.
Not really.
If
Yeah.
I drink, it's like straight Scotch. It's
Got it. Okay.
Like
yeah.
nothing else.
Well,
Wine here
I,
and
I
there.
would safely say that I think a tiki drink is probably an opposite of Scotch.
Exactly.
It's
That's probably why I
literally
don't
polar
or
opposite.
don't know anything about it.
But if you ever want to, you should go to Lost Lake. I highly recommend Lost Lake. And then the other one we did was with Pizza Fried Chicken Ice Cream, and they just made it to where it was like a section on their website that you could like donate to.
Pizza, fried chicken, ice cream.
That's the name of the place. Yeah,
Is that all they have there?
I think. Yeah, no, they have like other appetizers and
I
stuff
wouldn't be
too.
mad at that.
Yeah, but yeah, that was they're great. They their pizza's amazing, especially their tavern, which in Chicago is like huge thing. Like if you're making bad pizzas, someone's gonna tell you pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, the next two that I have planned is this brewery called Oakenroy. They're like a Danish style brew pub, which is really interesting that a like Danish style thing popped up in Chicago, and they make the the schmobor or whatever it's called, the open face like sandwiches that's big in Copenhagen.
Okay.
Anyway,
I've been to Copenhagen in a while. I don't know.
I love Copenhagen. It's like my favorite place in the world. I would totally move there if I could. So we're gonna do one of those, and then also a cocktail, and then the other one is Middlebrow. So they're another brewery. They make their own bread. It's really awesome, really cool. And they actually made a beer with Milk Belly.
Oh, really? Milk Belly is
Yeah,
awesome.
Milk Belly is awesome.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I remember like when Joe was like, "Yeah, like Milk Belly's gonna play with Foo Fighters." I was like, "What?"
At Wrigley Field, and he's like,
And he
yeah,
was like
I'm
there.
going. Yeah,
he was
went.
there. Yeah.
It's like, of course, Joe finds himself in that situation.
Yeah. It's so crazy to like, and I think that you'll find it interesting too, is to think about all the different directions that like Chicago musicians have like gone, Like I remember seeing Miranda open for Maps and Atlases as Red Delicious forever ago. And it was just her and an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
And then like Paper Mice's favorite Chicago band of all time. They're friends of mine, and John was kind of like the one who like turned me on to Milk Belly, And then obviously like when you hear a local Chicago band's opening for Food Fighters, you're probably gonna listen to them just because you're curious.
Yeah.
And I got to see them play at I think it was the Logan Square Auditorium. Joe played bass because their bass player was out of town. That might have been the last show I went to. God, that's sad.
That was in
What was the
February.
Oh, I don't remember. What was the last show you went to?
The last show I went to
Yeah.
is different from the last show I played because just so happened the last show I played was after the last show I went to.
Got it.
The last show I went to was at Lincoln Hall last
Love
weekend
Lincoln
of
Hall.
February for Rat Boys album release show
Cool.
with Slow Mass.
I love Slow Mass.
And Advanced Bass.
Got it. I don't know the
Advanced Bass. Owen, I think his name is. He runs Orendal Records out of Chicago. Great
Don't know
record
it.
company.
I'm gonna email him.
Yeah, no, it's really good stuff. A lot of good artists. So my favorite
Cool.
artist in Chicago, Gia Margaret's on it. Very talented, record company with great bands.
Cool.
But Advanced Bass, Slow Mass, Rat Boys, awesome show. Tons of awesome people I haven't seen in a while.
Awesome.
Lincoln Hall, that was end of February. Then
Lincoln Hall sounds so good.
it was great. It was
Sounds so
awesome.
good. Yeah.
And a week or two later, the band I'm in, Neighbors we played a show at Cole's on a Saturday night.
Oh, cool.
With
I wish I would have known. I would have gone.
It was awesome. It
Yeah.
was so much fun. It was the most people I've played in front of at a venue. I mean, it was completely packed. It wasn't
Cole's
a place.
usually is.
It was awesome. I
Cole's
loved
is
it.
always packed.
It was fun. It was
Yeah.
a Saturday night, and it
Oh,
was
cool.
with,
That's
this
cool that you're
band.
on a Saturday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
8-Bit Creeps. You ever hear of them?
Nope.
What about Space Gators?
Nope.
Played with both. They're really cool. Played with
Cool.
both.
I'm like,
yeah, I miss shows.
that's one thing that I feel like you can help me and pretty much already have because of what you do with the musicians and stuff. I'm so out of the scene, man.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Well, it's never ending.
It's never ending. That's why I love it.
But like I'd like to really get into local more than I am. Like I know my friends and their music, like I'm very familiar with the Super Records catalog and all that
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
and the other bands that I played with forever and like the different people in those bands, but like that's kind of like it. Like I don't know about
There's
other
a
things.
gazillion pockets. You got your Super Records. Like I said, Orendal. You got so many record labels with pockets, and then you got branches underneath that, people who are not on record labels, but they could be. They're just as talented. They're just not. There's only so much room at the top,
Yeah.
At the top, that's an arbitrary line, but you know what I'm saying. So yeah, there's thousands
I guess
of
that I
bands.
I guess that when I think about it, the most I know about is metal. Like I know about all the metal ones, like a lot.
Okay.
And that's just because I, was going to a lot of those shows when I was working for the brewery, and it was just kind of like a hand in hand thing. And some of them are like really, really great. Resin's awesome. You should listen to Resin. I know you don't like metal or like you don't listen to it.
It's not that I don't like it. I just never really went far into it.
Yeah.
It never like clicked. That never hit that nerve in the brain. But I like elements of metal.
Yeah, they're like super melodic. There's no screaming. Very like laid back, like stoner rock almost style.
I like the name.
Yeah,
Resin.
They're awesome, and they're like the drummer's like he works at a studio. He does sound at like all the Chicago venues. Like he's like around, And my friend Dylan, the one that I brought up earlier, he recorded their new record.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's a recording engineer now.
Okay.
The one who was back in the band.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're fucking awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do. You send me a list of those bands. I'll send you a list.
Just trade or the list of the
Tons
bands.
of indie rock, underground bands.
That's what I miss, man. Because when we were kids, we're not kids, but like when we were in high school, before we started getting real serious about this stuff, we did shows. We went to every show.
Shows, house shows, Battle of the Bands, Mojos. Lots of Mojos. Lots of
Mojos.
What's it called? Ashbury Coffee House, Mojos. Sound Lab, mentioned that earlier.
Lab,
off
yeah.
mic. What else? What else was like? These are all ages ones in the southwest suburbs.
Well, biggest. Well, right, yeah. Those are the major suburb ones for sure. That we definitely guarantee we and you were at the same show, 100%.
Happened a lot, yeah. I'm sure.
But the one that I think I went to the most in the city was Sub T. Like, I mean, so many shows. Every Maps Now is a show. Like, me and my friends
Really?
were obsessed with them.
I've seen them once.
They're awesome.
Interesting circumstances. I saw them open up for St. Vincent at the 312 block party in
funny.
September 2012.
I didn't know they played that. Yeah, that's the Goose Island thing, right? Mm-hmm.
And they opened up for her. It was the last show she played of her tour for Strange Mercy, and literally was different from that moment on. The next time you saw her,
I don't know about her
blonde
music.
hair. Oh, you don't never listen?
I know who she is, and I know what she looks like. I couldn't tell you one song.
Check out her second record,
Okay.
Actor.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I love that.
It's the reason why she's famous now.
That's cool.
You
Awesome.
could see that that's what did it.
What did it? That's
it
the
set
one.
her off.
Yep.
That's really good record.
That's another really awesome thing to think about. Is like little push buttons like that. But yeah, there was some bands at that time that were pretty big influences. Russian Circles is one of my favorite bands of all time. Instrumental, I've been listening to them. Same thing since they came out. Because again, they released an EP that it was really funny. It was just called like I think that was. Or I remember having it like on my iPod as like December 2004.
Was it an 80 gig, a 60 gig, a 30 gig, 120, a 160?
Oh man,
which one was it?
It was the 30 gig,
So
and I still have
that's an
it.
old one.
And it's the first video iPod that ever came out, and it came preloaded with a fucking U2 music video on it.
Of course it did, just like they did that thing a couple of years ago.
With the song on the, was it the phone?
I don't know, but I
think it was the phone.
U2's record was on my phone.
It was a song. It wasn't the whole record.
It was the whole record.
Oh, it was the whole record?
I believe so.
I don't like U2.
I don't like that they do that. They're whatever as people, but I don't like that they do that crap.
My big thing.
Force it down your throat? Come on now.
My big thing with them is that every time Bono does something good, there's a camera there. If you're going to do something awesome for a country or an organization or something, why do you have to take a photo of it?
Especially when you're already like worth $200 million. Like you don't need to do anything anymore.
No.
Like do it because you want to. Help people because you want to.
Another thing that I wanted to tell you about that I discovered recently, and I wanted to ask you what you're listening to right now, because that's my favorite fucking question ever.
Yeah.
Is so do you know Sonos Radio? Mm-hmm. So I didn't know about this. Had no idea what it was. Mm-hmm. No fucking clue. And I think we've already come to the thing of like Tom York's like, my God, Radiohead's my favorite band in the world. He's doing a radio show with them now. Oh. And he's doing a radio hour. And the thing he has his own radio show and like it has its name, but the radio hours, you can actually like go and listen to them. Like they're on Mixcloud, I guess it is. Mind blowing, dude.
Huh.
The artists that he played on there, I've already like found like 5 things, and I haven't been more excited about new music maybe in my entire life.
Okay.
And I immediately like texted Joe, and I was like, dude, Tom York radio thing, and he like halfway through it was like, thank you so much for sending me this. Oh my god, like I can't wait
I'm
to
gonna
listen
check
to
it
it.
out.
You
I
gotta
never
listen
heard
to
of
it.
this.
So it's just, and this is a thing that Sonus Radio does. Like David Byrne did one. Like all these people do this, and they just do an hour. So they do an hour of music, and it's their set. They pick all the bands, and this, that, and the other. So he's done 4. So the number 4 just came out, and then so I just like listened to it in reverse order.
And it's just a playlist of bands he chose?
Plays the bands he chose. It's just like a DJ,
Yeah.
like a DJ playing
That's cool.
a
I like
set.
that.
Mind blowing, dude. Oh my god, the songs in there are so good.
I'm sure
So good.
those types of artists they have their hands into some things. They know some things about bands. You know, they found some bands, the gems they could pick up on with their life and the touring they've done. Like, you know, the stuff that we've found just by going to shows. Imagine what they have done for 25 years. They've been touring the world. Like they've seen the bands that are awesome.
And I think that shows there's definitely a multicultural. This is a multicultural playlist. These are not just American artists or just
Right.
British artists for
Right.
that matter. This is like there's some stuff in totally different languages. You know what I mean? I think you'll really appreciate it
Awesome.
as an intellectual in music.
I like that.
What do you-
intellectual music?
I'd like to think that you are.
Thanks.
What are you listening to right now? And then I'll tell. I guess yeah.
Yeah, a lot of different stuff. Again, I've been really big on making these playlists once I find a song that I like, and
So
then
you're a playlist guy.
Well,
I've never made a playlist.
so only recently,
Okay.
just because I like to extrapolate the bands and then go into their records. Once I have a song I like from them that someone showed me, like, that's a cool song, and then I go backwards into their records. So
I think that kind of that makes sense.
if that makes sense. So lately, it's been this band Deeper from Chicago.
Don't know 'em.
Really cool band.
Cool.
I never really got into this band, but Haim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, their last record, Women
Yeah,
in Music Part
I
3,
know
is
them.
really, really awesome. Really, like, it's a long record with it goes a lot of places. Covers many cross genres, ideas. I really like their production and their harmonies and the guitar playing, and the musicianship is phenomenal. Very good musicians.
And any music person wants that or wants to listen to that.
I know when I'm listening, I'm like, they're doing all this, and like this is legit music, and they'll have a MIDI and machine, but it's like 10% of it, and it's just part of it's like colorization. It's not the whole thing, the foundation of it, like a lot of bands might do. Nothing wrong with that, but I really like when someone's like, yeah, they played the drums, they did this, they did that, they put together, and they added some sprinkle on top. I'm trying to think who else. Let's see, so many bands. I've been listening to a lot of this band Palm.
I know the name.
I think they're from Philly.
Okay.
Yeah, they have similar sounds as this band Mothers from Savannah, Georgia.
Mothers
I
is
believe.
fucking-
Or not, maybe not Savannah, Georgia. It's what's that town in Georgia?
Athens?
Athens.
I used to live there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're from there. So yeah.
Mothers is fucking awesome.
Mothers is amazing.
I had a homie who's a bartender in Logan Square play them, and his name's David, and we'd always talk about music because we liked a lot of the same music, and
Yeah.
he played them for me, and I was like, what the fuck?
They're good.
Yeah,
Both
they're
their
good.
records are amazing.
They're good.
I've been listening for a while, but they were one of those bands. You probably have a couple bands of this, but like you kind of never stop listening to them.
Totally.
They're just so good. You're just like, I'm gonna put this on again.
Yep.
It might know people. That
I have
are
a lot of
around, and
those
you're like,
bands.
Whatever. Yeah.
I listen to too much of the same music. I'm terrible. I need to listen
That's
to
why
more
I like
new
the
stuff.
playlist, because I have those go-tos, and then that playlist gets me a little bit out of my comfort zone.
We
And
should make each other mixtapes.
could. I made a really fun one recently for someone. And,
Did you really?
Yeah, it's like 4.5 hours.
Oh my God, yes.
And I'm waiting for that for another one back from them.
Is
But
this someone you love? Is this another love thing?
we're not gonna go.
You
there.
totally love this
We're not-
person.
no, we're not gonna go.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
But I'm dead serious. You love this person. Whoever they are, whoever you are that
Stop.
has that. Ben is so in love with you.
No,
4
no,
hours.
No.
Anyway.
I don't know what love is. You don't know what love is. You just do as you're told.
It's a lyric, right?
Yeah. Jack White.
Oh God, Jake White.
Jake White.
So I always want to do this persona thing. I want to do a side band that only covers white stripes, and it's Jake White. And you tell people that you're his cousin, and you're like fat and obese, and your shirt stained. I've always wanted to do that.
Jack White is such a unique guitar player.
I know where he lives. Used to drive by his house all the time.
Creepy. No, I'm kidding. In Nashville, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Cool house, I'm assuming.
It's a giant white house with a bright red door.
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Continue what you're saying though.
Oh, he's such a unique guitar player, and like if you study guitar or know anything about the training of it, you could see how little he has in it just by the way he plays his chords. He does the classic 2-finger down, one here, instead of this, which is way more efficient. When you do this, you get a lot more options out of it, and you can get the dexterity and the strength of this pinky a lot more when you're using it. But he doesn't use his pinky a lot. He does a lot of on-the-cuff stuff. But his ability to recognize where he's been, where he is, and where he's going with anything in guitar is just unprecedented. That's why he's still, like, I don't listen too much of his, like, new records, but when I see him play, like, I saw him play on SNL.
Yeah.
I was like, dude's 46, 45, and he just kills it. He's been doing that for 30 years. He's been playing the same way from the White Stripes forming in 97 to now. It's the same musician, same person, and he has this type of fame now. He's not too he's super famous in the music world, but not like Kanye West or something. But just
I kind of feel like he is.
You think so?
Well, you're right. He's not like Kanye West. Yeah, because like Kanye West is like that's like Taylor Swift, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Like that's whole nother.
Everybody knows their names. You say Jack White, people might not know who that is.
Totally.
A lot of people will not know who that is.
They don't know who Jake White is either, but they're going to.
No. And the White Stripes, I mean, they were one of my favorite bands of all time. One of my favorite songs ever, I Fought Piranhas off their first record. Do you know that? Are you familiar with that song?
I've listened to all of their records. If I heard it, I would know it. My favorite song, and I think the best song they've ever written, is Dead Leaves.
Oh yeah, that song's amazing too.
Incredible. That's
the song that broke them. That made them get into the mainstream.
No, it was Seven Nation Army, wasn't it?
That made them famous for life.
That was on the same record?
No, that was on White Blood Cells. Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground, and then Elephant is where you get Seven Nation Army. That's the second record after that.
And then what was the Lego video? Fell in love with a girl.
Dead Leaves. That's off of White Blood Cells as well. So
that's a fun song.
Both of those, Fell in Love with the Girl and Dead Leaves definitely broke them probably more nationally and got them to play
not tiny clubs anymore
and bigger events, Bonnaroo or whatever. But
sure.
Elephant, which is the hardest button to button, Ball on a Biscuit,
I know those songs. Yeah.
Black Math, all that stuff. That's what got him to where you watch a basketball game now and you hear do 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 do, and you watch a soccer game and there's 100,000 people going
oh god.
That's what that record did, which is a whole nother world to be in.
Yeah.
But Dead Leaves is what got them to probably start to live off their music.
That's such a well written song.
Which one?
Dead Leaves.
Oh my god,
so well written. Yeah. It's just. Have you seen It Might Get Loud?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he talks about the writing of it.
Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You. It's Brain Stew by Green Day. It's While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles. And it's Dead Leaves on the Dirty Ground by Jack White. For those who don't know what I'm saying, these are common chord progressions that are used when you go down A, G, F sharp, and you go up. Dun, 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 dun. So much so, but it goes to show that if you just change lyrics, tempo, tonality, and anything in between, such as a bass line or a guitar leading it, you can take the same chord progressions and it's just complete different endings. And all those songs are amazing, but they're all the same chords.
Totally. I had that happen for this song that I wrote a long time ago on piano. I think it was something that I was playing and I played it for Joe and he was like, that's New Order, that's Coldplay, that's Katy Perry. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's all the same thing. I don't have that yet, what you guys have. I really want to get that to where I can hear it and know it. I think I do, but I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. You've been playing music as long as you do. It's definitely going to be in there, but it's just another way of looking at it. When you start trying to find it, that's when you get better at it.
Yeah.
I deliberately love to break apart music and find
I've
those
ruined
things,
some songs for people for sure.
Oh yeah, I don't think people like listening to music with me.
There's been I know specifically there's a song on Wasted Light by Foo Fighters. I remember I bought into the whole thing where they made it on tape and they had Lemmy in one of their videos. Lemmy's God, Motorhead's awesome. And I remember I was hearing it and right in the middle of the song I'm like, baby, I'm ready to go, because it fit perfectly. And then that's when I was like, oh, it's the same fucking chords, it's the same notes, it's the same exact chords, So that was me, that's when I first was like, oh yeah, I do hear it. I do hear this stuff.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily know how to explain it.
Yeah. No, it's a very common thing. And some of the coolest musicians, guitar players I know, writers, find ways around that to where they only go into these small tinges of things that have happened, but most of the time they're just making is authentic and like from the ground up type of stuff, like what you were saying with Unique Chic, bands like Godspeed You Black Emperor, where they're not repeating there's not the same chord progressions.
Yeah.
They're starting off, they're doing very unconventional chord progressions. I'm very fortunate right now. I'm gonna put up on a pedestal the band I'm in, and I'm not responsible for this, but the band I'm in, the singer, songwriter, person who writes the songs, she has a phenomenal ability of not following like any straightforward chord progressions, changing
That's what I like.
keys. Just it's really interesting, and it's very unique to learn to because I'm not used to that, and I really like it. Like just doing like instead of doing like a 1-3-5 chord, which is most popular ones you could do, you just do like a 1-3-2-7, like hovering around everything but the actual resolve.
Right.
And then eventually you throw the resolve in there, but it's not in the place you thought it would have. It just, you're like, oh my God. Like, and when you do it well and you couple it with this amazing angelic voice with all these fun musicians that we're all good at our own craft, but now we're coming together, it's great. And I really enjoy it. It's very rare I hear music like that where you can tell like they're not doing the 1-4-5, the 1-3-5, the 1-3-6-4, all these types of chord combinations that everyone's familiar with. They're doing everything but that, and doing different amounts of durations on them instead of doing like your traditional 4-8-4 and making it end up at 16 or 24. It'd be like 2-6,
Yeah.
3-3-8.
That
You're just
was-
like, what the heck?
That was Richard Dev to a T.
Okay.
We never repeated anything.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
awesome.
that's
So
what
you know
the,
what I'm saying
the
then.
joke in the band was is that we never repeated anything.
Yeah.
And if we would play something for even a little bit too long, we'd be like, oh no, it's too long. Like
Okay.
that can't be in the song.
Yeah, so
But that's
you
how
can
those
relate.
guys
Yeah.
wrote that music. I can't relate as a writer, but I can relate as being in someone. I was in a band that did that. Yes, for sure.
And it's fun because it's a challenge. You have to like
oh, for sure.
rewire.
Yeah, especially as a drummer.
Oh yeah.
If we're talking about different time signatures, yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing though. They're not different time
They're not
signatures.
different time
It's
signatures.
the
I got
way
you.
the
The
chords are
structure.
being structured and where you're choosing to go. Like you'd start off like 1, 2, 3, 4 on a chord. Instead it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then go 1, 2, 3, 4 to the next chord. Then you come back, but now you do 12.
Got you.
And like so the amount varies and it's never it's not a time signature, it's not a poly measure or polyrhythm. You're just but it's like weird decisions on the when I say I'm gonna just say this on the podcast because I say weird and obscure and goofy and strange, but I never mean them in the ways that I think most people do. I mean them in like the most, I'm like praising someone
Totally.
because I feel that way too myself. So when I say like the weirdest thing, I mean literally the most beautiful thing.
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
Most people when they say like oh it's weird, they mean it in a bad connotation. I always mean the best. So
Same.
weird yeah, I like weird. I really do. So when something's weird, I'm like, I want more of it. I want to know more about it. I'm intrigued. So yeah, weird chord progressions and note decisions and just like staying the second and the seventh note of your scale in Western music is usually not the most desired place to be. It's more of a transition or a leading tone going somewhere. So when you get there and you hover on it, it's like this never-ending tension. Where you're not at the tonic note, and you're not at a fifth or fourth or third, and you're not even in your relative minor, which at least gives you that resolve of like, oh, we're going sad. You're just stuck at that seventh and second and two.
Tension's good.
Tension. I love the tension of it. And then you
Yeah.
don't get the resolve, and you go back somewhere else. You're just like, you feel contorted in your body. Like, I don't understand. They didn't go there.
Right.
I
I do. There's some cool stuff with that, like build-ups that don't really go anywhere, or like build up and do like nothing.
Yeah,
or,
they don't end on that root note.
Yeah.
They end on like a different note, and you're like, wait, what?
But it does, you like talking about this makes me think about what we were talking about earlier about like videotape and like how I think there's sometimes that people write songs and they trick people into thinking something and it's not. And another one of those that I think tricks people is I Think I Lost My Headache by Queens of the Stone Age. So that's like probably my favorite Queens of the Stone Age song, and it's in like I don't even know. It's in like 7-Eleven or something. Like the time signature of it is so people are like, oh, it's 4/4, and it's like, no, it isn't.
Yeah.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah.
And like, of course, not to mention like they play in like drop A or drop C or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you know. But I do like that what you were talking about with not the traditional aspect. That makes me think of how cool it is when like an artist can like trick someone because
Especially when it's natural.
brain is well. That's another thing too. Is like so me. I'm not like I don't know how to read music. Like I don't even know that much about like actual notes, but I know it sounds good, and I've been playing by ear like forever. And I remember when I was recording my first record, and I was playing it. And I was like, because like usually like some recording engineers or the person recording the record will be like, oh, just play it for me so I like know what's going to happen, or what's going on. So that I like don't click stop recording like in the middle of the fucking song or something, which has totally happened to me. I'm like, it's not over. There's just
Why'd you do that? It's not over.
Totally, yeah. Don't touch my drums. But there was like a thing and I played it and he's like, oh, that's nothing. And I was like, what do you mean that's nothing? He's like, that's not like a chord. And I'm like, well, I'm fucking playing it. Like, I don't know what to tell you,
On guitar or bass?
It was a guitar. Yeah. And it was just this one slide part. And he was like, you could just go here, and then he like showed me where to go. And he's like, that's a G. And he's like, you could just do that instead. So I think I actually played it both ways on the actual song that ended up coming out.
Yeah.
But I just remember it was so weird to me that he was like, oh, that's not anything. And I was like, what the fuck does that even mean?
Yeah, I don't like that.
So I guess what I was trying to say was there can be some kind of creative beauty or something in not knowing.
Yeah.
Like not knowing the note.
Ignorance is not only bliss, but ignorance is bliss. And ignorance gives you the opportunity to do something spontaneous without any rules.
Right. And that's something that's I feel like has like drove me a little crazy lately is like there seems to be so much more structure on songs now that I feel like are like in somewhat popular realm or like it has to be perfect. Of course we're talking about pitch correction, autotune, things like that. When, it's like at the end of the day, like I always think back to, did you see Sound City, the documentary?
Mm-hmm.
So the Tom Petty section, I love Tom Petty so much. And he talks about, he's like, it's music, like it's not supposed to be perfect, and he's like, I want to play with stuff and I want to turn knobs and I want to touch things and I want to play it till I get it right. Like I'm not just like now, fuck man, you can butcher a song. That could come out sounding perfect, with all the technology that there is.
Yeah.
But to me, like, it's okay if you, like, mess up. Or, like, sometimes it could still come out sounding awesome and, like, you don't have to fix it. It didn't ruin the whole fucking song. Or, like, and then having said that, there's even some beauty in potentially playing the wrong note on purpose.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know I read this, I don't know if it's true, but I read that, like, Ben Gibbard sings off key on purpose. I don't know.
Might.
Someone told me that was, or, like, I read it, I can't remember, but someone said that, like, yeah, he literally, like, did that or is doing it in a certain instance on purpose.
Mm-hmm. It could be a tool. It could be a tool to have the
Stand
ability
out.
to do that,
Yeah.
to know how to go between the notes. You can be off a couple cents and guide through a note. It's one of my favorite things to do on guitar.
Yeah.
When I'm playing,
I'm like, is there, I don't know.
No, I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know
okay,
what
I
was
thought
doing.
you were trying. I was like, you're gonna pull out a guitar.
There's
You're like James Bond. You have a rocket launcher on your back.
There's
That'd be awesome.
the sliding up. It's the beautiful thing about having like a fretless instrument, like a cello, violin, viola, upright bass. The going in between the notes it's a whole nother tool of playing music, a whole nother note. And one of my favorite things to do on guitar is like go between notes, like slide through them, and, like go to the right note,
Totally.
slide to the next one, and like have that split second of just like out of pitch, out of key. And the one thing I've learned from working with a lot of bands and recording a lot of bands and having a lot of shows here is the audience is under the impression, the spell that everything you're doing is deliberate. So a mess up to you is probably not a mess up to them 90% of the time.
100%. Yep.
And if it's live, and they know your music off a record and it's live, they're going to go, well, this is just their live way of doing it. You know, it's all the intention is there. It's a disservice to yourself if you say something to them. Oh, I messed up. We did this wrong. Don't say anything.
Totally.
Don't own it. No one's going to know.
For sure. And some people show it with their emotions too much, and they shouldn't do that.
Yeah. Feel it out in the moment.
They'll be very clearly agitated or angry on stage. It's
Yeah.
like, probably shouldn't have done that, you know?
No, even records that have predetermined sections, bands when recording will mess up parts and they just leave it and that becomes part of it.
Like the Squeak King, John Bonham's favorite Squeak King. So he plays a Ludwig Speed King bass drum pedal, which was Ludwig's pedal at the time. It was their main pedal forever. And it squeaks on one of the songs on the records. They didn't take it out.
Yeah, just part of it.
It's just part of the song.
Part of it.
Yeah.
There is one of my favorite songs I've ever been a part of. My friend Vinny wrote for the band we're in Neighbors You Know. I was playing bass for it. I play guitar now in that band. But when I was playing bass, we recorded it live. And here, at the very end, I'm supposed to play the bass. Do 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 do. And I went do 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 at the very end of the song.
Sounds better to me.
And I was like, crap! I did the whole 5 minutes of not messing. I messed up there, and it sounded cool. And we just left it. He's like, I like it.
It also totally works for an end too. Like
it makes
specifically
sense.
works for an end and makes sense.
Exactly. It's almost like, oh, that's like what it crescendos to. Like that's deliberate. It's the last one, and it works. And then when I did it, I was so mad because I was like, that was such a good take. Everyone did so well, and I was mad about it. And then we listened back, and he's like, I kind of like it. I was like, yeah. It's intentional, right? Wink, wink. Like, why would anybody know otherwise?
Right.
Don't tell them, and they think it's part of the writing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just gotta, as an artist, musician, actor, painter, just own what you have. The mistakes are part of it. You learn from it. Now that you made that mistake, again, in your eyes, it's a mistake. You probably won't make it again elsewhere. And if you do, it's gonna be smaller,
Growth
smaller,
is
and smaller.
important.
You have to make those mistakes. You should not be making perfect things because perfection does not exist. Is it a dream you can run after for the rest of your life? It's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that, I don't know, it's again, it's like just it's probably why I love jazz so much, you know. It's because it's like it got to a point to where, you know, jazz became what it was because there was no more fucking rules, you know. Like one of my favorite records of all time is Ornette Coleman, The Shape of Jazz to Come, because that was like the first one. Like that was the one where he's like, oh no, I'm not gonna like follow your structure anymore, you know.
Yeah.
And that's when free jazz happened and avant-garde jazz, you know. But I just think that, I don't know, just I think some people can put just too much emphasis on making it perfect, you know, to where like I think it affects the actual end result of what the song becomes.
Yeah.
You know?
There's definitely a point you want to get to, but there's going to be imperfections still. And they're going to be subtle, and they're going to become more and more subtle. But the thing is, they might not be where you thought they were. Like the voice might be fine, the lyrics might be heartfelt and well written, the drums are on time, but maybe it's the little in between nuances of how the bass was slightly out of tune. So the bass is the foundation in which you get the rest of the notes that feed upon it on the end or the higher harmonics. So if the bass is slightly out of tune, it can make everything else above it in pitch be a little wonky. But sometimes it's not out of tune enough, and it just sounds nice. It has this beautiful, comfortable, natural dissonance to it, you know, with the guitars on top. And that stuff happens, and it's cool, and it works. And you're like, what's that? And the little tension, because when you have notes building harmony and chords, and they're supposed to be in this perfect relative pitch to each other, and you have one slightly off, it messes up the way our brains perceive the rest of them. By messes up, I don't mean it's a bad thing. It just, if it's too far off, then you're like, oh, something's out of key.
Right.
But when it's just enough, it's like that 12-string guitar sound. You get this weird shimmer of sounds that just kind of work with each other, but not fully, but not enough to where there's distress amongst the listener. And I love those in-between places because you can't have perfection. You can't have perfect pitch.
Right. No, right.
You can't have perfect timing.
Exist,
You can't have any of that stuff. I'm not a fan of auto-tune for that reason.
Right.
You know, I'm like, get your voice to where you want it to be and record it. And auto-tune, I don't think you should try to auto-tune anything. This is a philosophical thing. Like I think being any artist of any kind or an engineer of any kind, there's philosophical things you can do. And mine is I want to take what you're putting out, capture it with this, and have it translate through a speaker in the best way possible without doing too much of the auto-tune and whatnot.
Right.
You know? But that's just me. I have nothing against it. It's an artifact that can be kind of fun with certain singers. It adds certain timbre tones, to the voice. But I don't know, that's not something I like to do personally.
Yeah, it's just again another tool, and sometimes tools that aren't necessarily tools that people think of. That's like the most inspiring stuff to me is like. So Converge is like one of my favorite metal bands forever. I've been listening to them, my whole life because they've been around forever. And like Kurt Ballou, who's also like a total sonic genius and owns his own guitar and pedal company and has recorded all of their albums. He actually just won his first Grammy for the new High on Fire record. Well, it's not new anymore, but anyway, he was the first person that I saw. He used feedback as an instrument, and I was like, I've been listening to metal bands like for so long, and like here's this guy who finally is like. You can do stuff with feedback. You can make it notes. You can do this, that, and the other. And I was like so fascinated by that idea. And then of course, Godspeed, Sigur Rós, I mean, don't get me wrong, it was always so incredibly hilariously funny to me when I would like show someone Sigur Rós and they would think the most mind-blowing thing in the world is that he played with a bow. And I was like, do you know who Jimmy Page is? Yeah. Do you know that like that's where he got it from?
Yeah. I played with a bow when I was younger because of Jimmy Page.
Oh, yeah.
I always had fun with that because I watched him play live at Royal Albert Hall in 1970, and I was like, he's playing a bass with or a bow with Dazed and Confused.
Before Led Zeppelin. He did it when he was in the Yardbirds, which Dazed and Confused is a Yardbirds song that then became a Led Zeppelin song.
Yeah, no, you're right, and he also knows production really well. He was like an assistant engineer at the studios. He
played on Goldfinger. Yeah, he played on Kinks records.
Yeah, he was a studio guitar musician and like his own engineer in his own way.
Yeah,
he's.
A lot of people hate him. A lot of people hate that band too.
I could see why. I could see why. He's very talented.
He's insanely talented,
obviously. But I could see there's a lot of mischievous things going on there with. Thievery of
for sure.
Songs.
That's why it was funny earlier. You mentioned the song, the Led Zeppelin song, and I was just like, the band that like it's funny when someone's like, oh, this was like super influenced, like this is like was a specific Led Zeppelin song influenced this, and I'm like, they didn't write that song.
Yeah, it's tricky because they wrote a lot of really cool songs that aren't covers of other songs or ripped off
for
from
sure.
other songs.
Yeah. No, I really like 1 through 4 a lot. I like those records a lot.
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed listening to them. But as I was saying, the tools, the different tools, the weird things. So like Godspeed, first time I saw a screwdriver on a guitar. Oh my god! So there's so much awesome stuff you can do with it. And again, like I love ambient weird stuff. Just crank a reverb or a delay, or whatever, and get a screwdriver. Man, the sounds that come out of that, and there's this specific. It's a round. I think that you'll actually find this very interesting. I think in between. It's like one of your in between guys. It's like the 13th fret, but kind of the 12th.
Yeah.
And if you do it at a certain angle, there's this frequency that comes out of a guitar that like I've never heard before.
So you said. Is it the edge where the 13th meets the 12th?
Yes.
So it's probably dabbling with the harmonic there.
100%, yes. But it's the sound of it when you have to have a certain type of screwdriver. You can't just have like any screwdriver. Typically like a longer one. Again, it's a bowing thing. It's like a bow.
Are you just going up and down the strings with it?
You're doing this.
Oh, okay.
So you're just like a bow. Okay. Yeah. And it creates this frequency sound that when I first heard some of those Godspeed songs, I was like, are you familiar with Antennas to Heaven, like that record? That like at the end of that one song, it sounds like an alien talking. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, and I remember hearing that, and I was like, how the fuck? What did they do to make? Because I was like, they only have guitars. There's no synthesizers. There's no drum machines. There's no crazy technology going on in this band. It's guitars and pedals. Obviously, they have pedals. So
and different artifacts.
And then I come to see pictures, and then finally saw them live. When they came back and decided to be a band again, it's like these motherfuckers are using a screwdriver. It was a screwdriver that was making that sound. A screwdriver. Yeah. So then I figured it out, and I was like. That's what it is.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Did you ever discover any kind of like weird secrets? Another one of so Josh Homme, one of my favorite guitar players ever, Queens of the Stone Age. So Billy Gibbons is his biggest influence. And he's like, and I remember he's like, he did this weird blues thing, and I never could figure out as a guitar player what he did. And then he found out it was a tap. And he never thought in a million years that Billy Gibbons would would tap his fretboard.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was so mad.
Yeah.
He's like, I spent my whole life
Trying to figure it out.
And then it was like, boo-wee. And that's what it was. It was like he tapped it and then bend the note and then let it go and then it rung out. It was like a multiple stage tap. You ever have any of that?
Oh, yeah.
Where you figure something out?
Oh, yeah.
That was weird? And you were like wondering about it?
Not wonder, but I big sound art guitar making weird sounds enthusiast, especially with the other bands I'm in, where it's more like me doing that stuff. My first band, Wilshire, and this band, improvisational experimental band, Afterglows, that it's a project I do, where just friends come together, certain people, and we just improv a whole record.
Oh, I love that.
Done it 5 times, 5 times. It's been great.
That's awesome.
Fun stuff. And but I like to play in the Wilshire stuff, and on my own music I like to play make up my own tunings, and I like to kind of play everything on the guitar, kind of like we were saying earlier, what you were saying with like what Joe does with the tapping. But the weirdest sounds I've been able to get are messing with the infrastructure of the guitar, like the high E, taking it out of the nut
Totally.
on purpose.
Right.
And on a Jazz Master,
Oh, yeah. So easy.
you got that.
You can just pull it off the bridge.
You got that
Yeah.
post bridge to the tail piece.
That's where like Sonic Youth plays half their songs.
Exactly. Yeah, and you
They play it behind the bridge.
pull up. You put the tremolo arm on some fingers, and you could pluck this E string that's out of the nut, so it's buzzing, and then you can bend the upper E string. While you're doing that, and you're pulling up and down the tremolo, and then like it's just weird stuff, like flicking, like a combination of things that never normally would happen.
Yeah.
And you do it, and then you add a bunch of reverb, delay, and distortion.
Right.
You got sounds that you just can't get.
That's My Bloody Valentine's entire thing, right?
Well, they would do
with the
tremolo. So you do the tremolo when you do. There's this movement with what Kevin Shields would do a lot, and a lot of guitar players do this now.
It's like a
if you do an open tuning, yeah. So you do a swirling with the pick. So if you do that, as you know, as a guitar player, the closer you get to a pickup or the closer you get to the bridge, you're going to get a higher pitch. Not a higher pitch, you're getting a higher timbre,
right?
Because the string's not vibrating as much. It's not as low in timbre. So you get that swirling effect. The tremolo bar is going down and up. So you're going down in pitch, up in pitch, while you're going down in timbre, up in timbre, while you have maybe a pan 2 going between speakers, which have 2 different tones, reverb that's maybe reversed, maybe a memory man, which is reversing an attack. Like you add all together and you get chaos of just swirls physically in this analog motion, and then digitally through the effects, or analog through the voltage of certain analog pedals. And then if you put it through 2 amps in stereo, so that's an analog stereo with 2 mics, pan it left and right and mixing, and you just get the most wacky sounds. And some of the most fun guitar solos or riffs I would do, I would start off there, and after like my overdrive, go into like a digital delay and put it subtly, but then out of the output of that, go to 2 different phasers at 2 different speeds, and then go to 1 whammy going up in pitch, and then 1 wah sweeping as a frequency sweep through a pitch, and then go to 2 different flangers. So the signal starts off distorted and has 2 different rates of phase, 2 different pitches. One is frequency sweep, and 1 going up and down in pitch, and then 1 going to 2 different flangers, and then the end result 2 different reverbs into stereo amps.
Right.
And you get the weirdest sounding stuff out of it.
I want to hear it.
I can show you later.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It makes me think of like, someone who I consider like a godfather, which is David Gilmour. I mean, like I remember like, so Echoes is by far my favorite Pink Floyd record. And I remember like when someone was like, oh, that like wavy sound in the beginning of the record, One of These Days is the song. It's like, that's a guitar. What? How did a guitar do that? And then you find out that he like plugged a delay backwards. It was a wah pedal and a delay plugged in backwards. That's how he did it.
Okay.
It's like, well, fuck, who would have thought of plugging something in wrong?
And mistakes or deliberate.
There's no way. Maybe.
Sometimes it's a mistake. Like
Yeah.
the flanging effect was a mistake from the Beatles, and that's just between the 2
Right.
tapes.
And then wasn't the Beatles a huge thing? Was an oil can? Didn't they make a distortion pedal out of an oil can?
Oh, I don't know.
I think so. And then Frank Zappa, again, no one gives him fucking credit for anything, which sucks. But so
right people do.
Yeah, he pretty much like almost invented fuzz, or the first sound as what we would later call fuzz.
Yeah.
And it was because he plugged his guitar into the accordion output. As you know, amps from the 50s had an accordion output. A lot of people don't know that, but they do. And then he turned it up all the way, and he blew the speaker, and that was fuzz.
Yeah.
Like,
and he kept playing with it.
Yeah, and he kept playing with it.
Yeah.
And he wrote a song. He wrote songs with it.
Flapping dust cones and yeah.
Yeah, and that was like, there was no such thing as, there was like, we knew what pushing a signal was, an overdrive, if you will, but no one knew what fuzz was yet. There wasn't a fuzz pedal.
Then. Was 65 maybe?
His first record came out in 66, I believe. Yeah. Him and Lou Reed, they hated each other. Did you know this? So they were both on Verve. And Lou Reed, the Velvet Underground and Nico record, which is my Desert Island record. If I could listen to one record for the rest of my life.
That's a good record.
That's what it would be. And they were both on the same record label. And they were fighting with the record company to whose record would come out first because they were so groundbreaking. They were both so insanely groundbreaking records. And Frank's got to come out first, and Lou Reed,
Does that freak out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He despised Lou Reed, despised him for it. Apparently at the time, you know what I mean?
Hey, that stuff happens because remember, it's a business. And
it's a business.
People can hate each other for a lot of different reasons. Just because you're an open-minded, creative intellectual doesn't mean you can't hate someone. There's a race amongst all of it.
How weird is it to think about competitors when it comes to music? That's so strange to me.
You know how you know you're not competitive? When no one knows who you are and you still love playing music. And that's when you're like, oh, shoot, I don't have that gene.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I guess I'm not going to make it.
It's just, I don't think like that,
yeah. Not everyone does.
I don't think in a competitive nature. I mean, again, like I said earlier, yes, I'd like to get paid. Yes, I'd like to one day be able to pay my bills and do this for a living. But I would never think about it in a way of
you have an integrity,
person,
a creative integrity where you want it to be under the right circumstances for the right reasons, and you don't want to be disingenuous in any way. And that's a spectrum of that. There's people who are the opposite of that, and they make it because they just know. They're probably borderlining sociopaths, Seriously.
That's interesting.
I mean, how could you not be?
I mean,
just not care about anybody's feelings and you just go ham on it and you just don't care about anybody you step on?
That was Frank to a T, to be honest.
Frank Zappa?
Yeah. Yeah, Frank, he was a really big asshole, and he, the most notable one is that he neglected his family a lot, his children specifically, and How Valley Girl got written, which became his biggest hit ever, which is really funny, is Moon Unit. His daughter's name is Moon Unit. Wrote a letter to him. And so Frank's studio was in his basement of their place in Echo Park. Or not Echo Park. They just made a documentary about this place.
California, right?
Yeah, it's California, but it's a super specific spot.
It's by L.A.
Oh, man, it's going to drive me insane.
I don't know, yeah.
Bob Dylan's son made a documentary about it recently. It recently came out. You should watch it. It's really great. I can't remember the name. It's called Echo in the Canyon, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard of that.
Anyway, that's the place where Frank lived. And all these artists went there to record, the Beach Boys and the Mamas and the Papas was a huge one. And Crosby, Stills and Nash. And they would go and record there because it was away. It was away from L.A., or Hollywood or whatever. But Frank lived there. He was one of the ones who actually lived there. So all these musicians knew them, knew that. So all these people would come in and out. That's how the Beatles would go and find Frank, because John Lennon was obsessed with Frank Zappa. Him and Yoko even played on stage with him because he loved that Frank did this. He did orchestra conducting with his live rock band. That John thought that was the coolest fucking thing in the world. Anyway, I'm off on a tangent. Moon Unit writes Frank a letter, and she literally slides it under the door of his basement studio, because all Frank did was work. He didn't do anything else. He just fucking worked on music nonstop, touring, but it was constantly working. Something was constantly happening. He wasn't just making one record and then touring it. It was something else was also happening. He was writing while that was happening. So she wrote a letter and she was like, hey, I miss my dad. Do you know where my dad is? It'd be really cool to have a fucking dad. So I think it was the next day or a week later at 4 a.m. as Frank's down there fucking doing something. He literally wakes her up, knocks on the door, and he's like, hey, I want you to come do this thing that you do on this recording. She's like, half asleep and shit. And she's like, what? And he's like, don't you do that Valley Girl voice that you make fun of the girls in the mall? She's like totally, like gag me with a spoon. So Moon does that voice on the record. It became his #1 song for his entire career. And it was him showing like, hey, I read your fucking letter and I love you, want to be on a song. But he would never say that ever in a million years.
Yeah.
But that's what it was, and it became his #1 song.
That's heavy because
Super heavy.
prolific, borderline savant artists, musicians.
They're insane.
Yeah, it goes to a place, and
Mozart.
yeah, it goes to anybody of any background. It goes to a place where you're like, am I neglecting myself? Am I neglecting? Like, just because you're putting a lot of output doesn't mean you're still not neglecting yourself, like
Totally.
who you are.
When was the last time you slept? When was the last time you ate?
So last time you exercised,
Showered?
or your partner, your husband, your wife.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And then your children, and then your friends, your family. Like, it goes, there's magnitudes of it. You got to be aware of it. Workaholic, people call that. There's a lot of different things you can call it, but yeah, it's something you got to pay attention to and not be overwhelmed with just because it's working or you are good at it. And
Right.
people tell you, like, you're good at this, you should keep doing it. It's like, yeah, but you got to find that balance. That's sad that happened. I would feel terrible if someone ever wrote me that letter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, and there's like so many. I've read like every biography ever written by him, including his autobiography, which is like, he left out so much stuff.
Sure, he did.
But like, yeah, that's, I don't know. I don't know what that kind of thing is, but yeah, no, it was a huge thing in like their family. Like, he wasn't around for them, like, as a father, really. He was just a guy, like, they called him Frank, like, they didn't even call him Dad, and like, he was just a guy who recorded music in the basement.
That's sad.
I mean, like, there was ebbs and flows of that,
Of course.
but I think that there was some huge, crazy key things. But then years later, Dweezil would start Zappa Play Zappa. So,
Man, that's a sad note. What time is it? Oh my God. I think we're at like 3 hours and 40 minutes.
oh man, I could talk forever.
Well, I guess in closing.
I'm like, I don't want to end on a sad note.
No, we don't
Jesus.
understand. We had plenty of positive notes.
That's true.
How about this? Let's end with plug everything you want to plug, anything you want to add or say at the very end here.
Sure. Yeah, Instagram Live every Friday in February. That's a real easy one. NASHU and Not You is my Instagram handle. So go check that out. And there'll be a song, since I've told everyone it's a song, coming in April that apparently upsets pedal makers. So yeah, look out for that. That's
it.
That's pretty much it. And me and Ben we also said that we're gonna do some recordings of 2 songs of the first NASHU record with a full band setting.
Soon, very soon.
So that's really exciting. We're gonna
Yeah.
do that. So look out for that. That's coming.
That's gonna be awesome.
That's gonna be really cool. And I'm actually really excited for you to hear it.
I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah.
I'm excited you came today. It was really fun.
Thank you so much.
We went a bunch of places. I like it.
I
There's no rules.
and so
It's
it's
zero.
And it's like, from just me coming here the first time, obviously we're talking about music because that's a common ground. But then afterwards, remember me and you having that conversation that we did about our parents and stuff. It's like, you just knew that there was like we could do this.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
The thing that got me,
Oh my God.
I'm a very particular person when it comes to a friend, a companion, anything. There's certain things that happen. And when you looked at the Silvertone 1448 short mini scale guitar on the wall, and you said, "Oh, you got that
Shan
Silvertone."
Marshall.
You should go Cat Power, Shan Marshall. And I was like, "Yep, all right." I've never. That guitar's been down there for 10 years. I got that guitar in March 2011 from Hidden Music
Nice.
because of Cat Power, and
She's one of my heroes.
mine too. And not one time in my life, 10 years, has anybody ever said anything about that.
Nice.
So thank you for doing that.
Totally.
That's awesome.
I love Cat Power. Everyone listen to Cat Power.
Yes.
And she's the most amazing human and does so much. And yeah, she all encompassing. She's an amazing human being.
her lyrics on the first 4 records, I always describe it as the most raw, transparent, heartfelt form of expression I've ever heard
Yeah,
to date.
man. She was
No beating around the bush.
she was in rough places.
No
in her
metaphors.
life.
It just tells you,
Yep.
I'm not made of successful things. That's a line from one of the songs. You're just like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
What do I do with that?
Yeah, and sure. All of those records are so amazing, and then the new one too, like totally like taking a crazy different direction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, newer, obviously, it's not
Right.
new anymore, but yeah,
All right.
cool.
Well, Shaun with the weird spelling,
Not seen.
not seen. Thanks for coming here. I can't wait to do some cheese, salami at room temperature,
Yes,
some beer,
yes.
all that stuff.
Heck yeah. Thank you so
and
much.
Playlist. Yeah, pleasure to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And you'll be back someday.
Someday
Someday.
we'll do it again.
All right.
Awesome. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Take care, Shaun.
Later.